Fantasy Football Wednesday. How great is that? How great is that? I am super excited to be here. All right. Quick announcement. Due to some personal issues, there will be no show next week. However, I will be available. You can put comments on videos. You can DM me, or you can also email me. I will be available. I will have some videos coming out, but I won't be live next week. But I'm here to help you win your fantasy football league. That's the most important thing. Oh, man, look at this. Started off strong, Austin. I traded Aaron Jones from McLaren. I talked about getting a more consistent wide receiver instead of Reed. I think I got the guy. With Bijan and Walker, I'm not worried about my running position. I do have Hunt as well. Personally, I feel like even this is an even trade up with my wide receiver. He improves his running back. I think they're both same tier player. All right. Let me break this down. So I always believe that a 3-down running back has more value than a wide receiver. The plus that you're getting with McLaren is that he's been wildly productive, even with a bad quarterback situation in Washington over the years. Now you have Jaden Daniels, a legitimate NFL MVP candidate. During the Super Bowl era, there's never been a rookie that has won MVP. There's been some good ones though. Eric Dickerson, Earl Campbell. I mean, those are two names that come to mind that just came into the NFL and dominated. Eric Dickerson, fun fact, never won an NFL MVP. Adrian Peterson hit 1,000 yards first 8 games of the season. He missed a lot of time due to injuries. Randy Moss was dominant as well as a rookie. But my point is that McLaren's a solid receiver. Instead of Reed, that's a good move. Another thing about Aaron Jones is that last year he was really beat up, but when he's healthy, he's a solid value. As far as player in a fantasy football PPR league, I feel like you lost a little bit of value, but Bijan Robinson is a running back number 1. Kenneth Walker, when he's healthy. Now, he's been really up and down due to injuries this year. And you also have Kareem Hunt, who's been really, really solid. So I think you lost a little bit on the trade. However, as far as the tier of players, McLaughlin's, I would say, a little higher on the tier of players. I think Aaron Jones has more fantasy football value. I like what you've done so far. You need Kenneth Walker and Kareem Hunt to continue. With Kenneth Walker, when he's healthy, he's really, really good. So I'll be honest with you. I don't feel like you really won this trade. Hopefully you improved your team. And Austin, is always good to see you, my friend. Always good to see you, my friend. Miguel, what's up, brother? Is it a good idea to drop Cup for A-Chain? I got AGB, Jettas, Amari, D-Hop, and wide receivers, and Walker, Bijan, Jacobs is running backs. Okay. I like your receivers. AJ Brown and Jettas are top tier number 1 guys. I like both of those guys more than I like Cup. With Cup, you really don't know what you have. With Amari and D-Hop, you have some excellent options, but more than likely, I don't know what your fantasy football league is like, but I'm assuming you're in a 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex PPR league. If that is the case, then you may have something. I like your running backs, though. I mean, you got Bijan Robinson, you got Jacobs. These are solid guys. Kenneth Walker, we just had the conversation. When he's healthy, he's very valuable. So I really like your roster. So you're in good shape. You're trading one player with an injury concern for another player with an injury concern. A-Chain's always going to have that issue. He's a 190-pound running back, but I really thought that they would kind of switch things up and go with Mozart. But instead of going with Mozart, I'm going to cover that up here. Let's just focus on fantasy football, not the future for right now. The thing is with Mozart is that he's now the backup. Now they are trading carries, but the thing is, what I like about this trade is that Puka is now the number one guy, not Cup. So you also have Pacheco on IR. With Pacheco, you have a couple guys, okay? I like Cup a lot more, and I like Amari Cooper or D Hop. But if you're in a 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, 1 flex league, I really like this because you want to have 3 down running backs more than you have wide receivers. So, let me ask you this here. Is this a trade you were offered, or is this something you're thinking about offering? I don't really hate this at all. I mean, here's the deal. If you make this move, you have A.J. Brown, you have Jettis as your receiver, then you have to figure out who you're going to play. A-Chain, Walker, Bajan, Jacobs. You can only play 3. You have to figure out which one to make, because I like Bajan. I think Jacobs against Jacksonville is a good play. You have to decide between Kenneth Walker against the Rams and A-Chain against the I should have this memorized, against the Bills. By the way, last time he played against Buffalo, monster game. I think it was like 35 touches, over 150 yards. Didn't get in the end zone, but he had like 8 receptions. If you're in a PPR league, it's fantastic. Because you have Pacheco on IR, I mean, that's something to think about. Here's the deal: if you do make this move, I mean, what's the rest of your league look like? You're in a 10-team league, so I mean, you're trading a potential stud number 1 for a guy that's going to split carries, but he is the number 1 guy in Miami, and the home run speed is a lot of fun. So I don't have a good answer for you, Miguel. If you do make this trade, let me know. And then we have a whole new bag of worms, especially when Pacheco comes back, because if you're in a standard type of league, who knows what's going to happen. John, what's up, brother? Hey, Dan, thanks for your help last week. I did great, and I liked on the way in. Thanks, brother. I really appreciate it. Really helps out this community, helps me out quite a bit, so thank you. Instead of energy drinks, it's a little cooler here in beautiful Las Vegas, so I'm drinking coffee. Stevenson's, Daubs, or McMillan. So here's the drill. Personal preference. I love playing guys on Monday night, so McMillan's always a good option. And Kinsey's defense, I think, will try to shut down the running game. That way you can isolate pass rushers against Baker Mayfield. That's kind of my thought process. They could just do the opposite and say, hey, look, we're going to eliminate the pass, beat us on the ground. I think it's going to be a really good game on Monday night. And by the way, John, I'll be live on Monday night. So whether you play McMillan or not, I hope to see you on Monday night. I always like 3 down backs in a PPR league more than I like receivers. And the thing is that you're going against a tough front seven, but I'm not really sure how they're going to react after getting blown out by the Lions. I mean, this could be a team that just lays down in Tennessee. Now, Drake May is in concussion protocol. How's that going to affect things? Last week he had against the Jets, another team with a good defense. Jets defense hasn't been playing well this year. 20 carries, 48 yards, but 2 touchdowns. 3 receptions for 17 yards, so a lot of touches. I'm kind of thinking that if Drake May doesn't play, I'm really thinking you're going to see something very similar. Maybe he doesn't get 2 touchdowns, but I do think you're going to get 20-plus touches. With Dobbs, you have no idea. McMillan, you have no idea. With Stevenson, if May doesn't play, you're almost guaranteed to get 20. If May plays, you're probably getting 15. Probably. May runs a little more. I think they'll let him kind of throw the ball a little more as well. So, but I do like Stevenson, and there's some factors to consider here, but 3-down running back's always going to get you more touches, especially a starting 3-down running back versus 2 receivers. You have no idea what kind of production you're going to get, John. Let me know what you do, but I would strongly suggest Stevenson, even though you're going against a tough matchup against Tennessee Titans. But Tennessee might be ready to lay down and give up the season, so we'll find out. Siobhan 1107, welcome, brother. Able to snag downs off waivers. I like it. Joe Flacco is going to be a starting quarterback going forward. So Pittman, if he's available, would be a good pickup. Downs, I think, is an excellent option. Adonai Mitchell and Alec Pierce are guys you could pick up on the waiver wire that may or may not have some value. If you need a receiver in a pinch, you may want to consider one of those guys. This is a good move for you. I don't remember your lineup completely. So are you starting him this week? Fun matchup on Sunday Night Football. You're playing against a good Vikings defense. You have a bad Colts offense or bad Colts defense. So, I mean, I think Downs could put up some points. Trey, what's up, brother? Daniel Caps. Would it be wise to pick up Garando and drop Mason? Seems like Garando's the back because of the Mason injuries. Also, Mason hasn't had 10 points in the last 5 weeks in PPR. Keep in mind, they're on a bye. They are on a bye. I really like this kid. I remember only watching one game. It was the bowl game, the Holiday Bowl against USC, but he had 4 touchdowns. He looked awesome, but I was thinking this is probably USC, had several players that were sitting out, and USC won, but I was like, man, that guy looked really good. And then kind of started paying attention to him at the combine. He weighed over 220, ran a 4.33, and I was like, oh my God. Started watching more film of him, and I was like, Louisville's just not a big football school. They're doing some really good things in Louisville, by the way. They're doing some really good things in Louisville. Jeff Brom was former quarterback there. I remember he was a 2nd-round pick of the Jets, if my memory serves me correct. I may be wrong about that, but he's getting some really good players. They're kind of building something there. I like this kid a lot. The comp was Isaiah Pacheco, who was a good size speed guy who's used all over, but for whatever reason, Pacheco at Rutgers, they didn't find a way to get him the ball a lot. It was a little different with Garando. because I think he had 1,200 yards his senior year. I like the kid. Now, I don't know what the situation is with CMC. I think he's after this week, he's coming back to practice. So here's the deal with Garando. I don't know if he's going to be that 20 to 25 carry back after the bye. Would you take him over Mason? That's a great question because after the bye, I'm not really sure what they're doing. I like Garando a little more than Mason, just a little more, but with CMC coming back, you have some question marks. Would I do it? I would. Keep in mind, I'm assuming that this is not a running back number 2 or your flex option. I mean, this is a guy, you're on the bench. You're hoping, if you pick up Garando, what you're hoping is that CMC is not going to come back for another couple of weeks. Daniel, I recognize you. I recognize the thumbnail. I see. Yeah. Okay. So you want to just add a guy into the mix. Okay. Yeah. Waiver wire spot, Garando over Mason. I would. In your situation where, you're just kind of adding some depth, I like it. So I like when you guys talk. I love it. All right. Nino, so I was pretty worried about Deontay's output going with the Ravens. Ended up trading him for Zach Charbonnet and Tank Dell. I already have Kenneth Walker. That is a fantastic trade. I love this trade because you switch teams. Not only are you switching teams, you're switching schemes completely. I understand Lamar Jackson is throwing the ball quite a bit, but I mean, Zay Flowers is the number 1 guy. Mark Andrews is starting to get involved in the offense. Isaiah Likely, almost forgot his name. 18 and a half minutes into the show, I'm already forgetting names, but you have some other weapons. I think that this is a move Baltimore's using more for the playoffs, and they're also hoping to use a little more 3 wide receiver sets and Justice Hill to give Derrick Henry a breather. I really don't think Deontay Johnson is worth playing on fantasy football. So I love this move. By the way, getting Zach Charbonnet when you already have Kenneth Walker is genius. Walker's been, up and down. He's missed a few games with injury. Also, I was a huge Zach Charbonnet fan at Michigan. Then when he transferred to UCLA, I really liked him a lot. I actually thought he'd get a lot more carries, so I really like it. But Tank Dell could be a phenomenal pickup. You get Diggs with injury. Nico Collins isn't going to be back. The only thing I have to ask you is, are you going to play Tank Dell tomorrow? Let me know. Every week I have to decide A-Chain, Monty, Pollard, Ramondre, White, then decided McBride. These are good problems to have, my friend. These are good problems to have, my friend. Yeah. Let's do this here. Let me see if I can help you out here. I kind of like A-Chain just because of what he did against Buffalo. I think it was week 2. It was over 30 touches, over 150 yards. You're in a PPR league. I think that week he got something like 30 points. It's something crazy. So A-Chain against the Bills, I'm kind of liking that. I do like Pollard and Ramondre. They're playing against each other, good front sevens. I have no idea what to expect after Tennessee giving up 1,000 points to the Lions last week. That's kind of a weird situation. I love playing guys on Monday night. Rashad White, Chiefs defense does traditionally a really, really, really good job against running backs. Rashad White may play a lot more as a receiver. Monty's probably going to get you a solid 10 to 15, but you know you're going to have some issues if you bench Pollard or Ramondre. This is, and then McBride and Bowers is always a difficult decision, but with McBride, you're going against a very tough Bears defense. Bowers, you're going against a Bengals defense, which I think will play pretty tough. So I would go McBride. I would go with A-Chain. 2 running backs, 1 flex, I'm assuming. I'm leaning towards Pollard. I'm sorry. I'm leaning towards Ramondre. I do like Tennessee's front 7. I'm not a fan of the way they gave up. I'd kind of bank on that. If you're projected to win and you need some solid points, I would go with Monty. If you want to roll dice, I would go with White. With Pollard, normally I would say he's a must start. I might lean against it this week. Just look, you're going against a tough New England team. I'm not sure what they're doing quarterback wise. That's tough. I'm not going to lie to you, Daniel. That is tough. Let me know what you end up doing. Let me know what you end up doing. I will say this. I do like McBride and I like A-Chain. Monty, Pollard, Ramondre, Rashad White. That's a tough one. That's really tough. Let me know what you end up doing, brother. Nino, why did the Ravens get him? Yeah, we'll find out. Victor, this is a good one. I got offered Jamar Chase for CMC and Jalen Reed. Do I also take my team as okay. So here's the team. Right now, you got Josh Allen, very nice. Bo Nix, also very nice. CMC, J.K. Dobbins, wow, it was a good team. London, yeah, make this trade. Yeah, absolutely make this trade. Jamar Chase is leading the NFL in receptions and yards. You have no idea what you're getting at Jalen Reed. You need to get some steady points. J.K. Dobbins and Cook are solid. Cook could have a huge game, by the way. Garando, of course, is on a bye. Drake, I don't know why I'm drawing. Oh, Drake London. I was like Drake, and then okay, yeah, Drake London is solid. So he's a legit number 1. DJ Moore's a number 1, but production you're going to always question about. Jamar Chase and London will be your 1 and 2 receivers. J.K. Dobbins and Cook are going to be your running backs. Who you play, Bo Nix or Josh Allen? I would go with Allen, but honestly, Bo Nix against Baltimore is not a bad play. Not a bad play. But I kind of like the Allen Cook combo. I like the J.K. Dobbins. The only issue I see is trying to figure out your I'd almost go DJ Moore as your slot. Flex, I'm sorry. Flex slot. But yeah, I would do this. I would absolutely do this. Look, you have no idea. CMC's coming back to practice. You don't know when he's going to play. Jalen Reed, you have no idea. You now get some very steady production at your receiver position along with Drake London, and you already got 2 really good running backs in J.K. Dobbins and Cook. You also, with Garando, you have some potential. Now, when you make this move, I would like to see you upgrade your running back. I like a 3-down running back more than I like a receiver in your flex, because like I'm looking at London, I'm looking at Chase, I'm thinking DJ Moore, probably your dude. So, but yeah, make this move, man. At least that would be my opinion. I think. Listen, Chase leading the NFL in yards, receiving yards, and touchdowns. Yeah, make the move. That's what I would do. Trey says maybe. Let me know what you end up doing. And after you make that move, I know you got two running backs, two good options at quarterback, and then you also have two solid number one receivers. It looks like DJ Moore would be the flex. You should. You absolutely should be worried about CMC. He's going to return to practice, and that's it. There's no guarantee he's going to play. Do you remember a couple years ago? I'm not sure of your age, but I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, Derrick Henry missed like 8 games of the season, and he came back and they just tried to force him into the lineup. He just wasn't ready. He wasn't the same guy. And then I remember in the playoffs on 4th and 1, they had Dante Foreman, who was playing phenomenal, by the way, on a 4th and 1 play to give Derrick Henry, and he just wasn't the same guy. I mean, I'm not dogging Derrick Henry at all. I mean, he just went. Derrick Henry today, that he would have made that 4th and 1. It was in the playoffs, and he was like at maybe 30%. I remember he ran towards the line of scrimmage. It looked like a slow jog almost, and he was stuffed. And I remember thinking he just came back too soon. And that's the one thing you have with running backs is CMC going to be the same guy, or is this the guy that's thinking, hey, I got to tough it out, and even if I'm 30 to 60%, if I can walk, I'm going to get out there. So I kind of lean against CMC. You have no idea what's going to happen. No idea. I got AK. What's up, brother? Hey, Dan, running backs: Hall, Kamara, Brown, Dobbins, Hunt, Chubb. Nice. London, Neighbors, Ridley, Johnson, Jennings, Bowers, and Hawkinson. What would you give for Reed or McLaren? All right. So you have a really good lineup right here. Really good lineup. So what you're looking for is that wide receiver number 3, because you got London and you got Neighbors. You're not sure about Ridley. Don't blame you. Deontay Johnson's value is going to pretty much drop. Jennings, you really don't know, and he's on a bye anyway. All right. With Reed, you have no idea what to expect. You're not benching London or Neighbors. McLaren, on the other hand, offers some very steady production. What you have to figure out is that I'm not really a fan of running back for receiver in your situation because you got 6. That's kind of what I would be leaning towards. The question is, which running back would you want to part with for McLaren? Out of these guys, I would lean towards seeing if you can move on from Chase Brown. The reason why I say that is because Brown is getting the majority of the carries in Cincinnati. I like Zach Moss. Zach Moss is better in pass protection. This matchup against the Raiders, I could see Zach Moss getting a few more touches. I could see the Raiders, or I could see the Bengals just going heavy pass. Chase Brown's more of a guy that's going to get touches when you're trying to come back from behind, more of a home run threat. That's my opinion. You could also bank on Kamara getting fewer touches. Dobbins always an injury issue. So far, he's been healthy. I think that if he plays all 17 games, there's a good chance he could lead the NFL in rushing. I think he's that good. So, Kareem Hunt, when's his production going to drop? Right now, he's guaranteed over 20 touches a game. Alvin Kamara is still solid, but do they want to bring back his touches? I also watched them play, not last week, two weeks ago against the Chiefs. He just didn't look like the same guy. So you could go Chase Brown for McLaren. I would not mess with Reed because you have steady performers in London and Neighbors. I would go in your situation. I would go to state, because here's the thing with Reed, you have no idea what to expect. Plus, you also have the Jordan Love injury issue. I mean, this is twice this season. He's gone down and could potentially miss games in the future. If Malik Willis is starting quarterback, Reed has no value. McLaurin's an excellent option. I would lean towards Brown, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not really sure you really want to mess with your roster in that way. I mean, I'm looking at I'm assuming two running back, two receiver, one flex. I like your lineup. Your hardest decision is you got 6 running backs. You may have to make a move. I do like Chase Brown from McLaurin in your situation, but I'm not going all in on it. So yeah, I like McLaurin quite a bit. And AK, in your situation, I wouldn't mess with Reed at all. McLaurin's interesting. I'll be honest, I didn't know he was this steady. And by the way, I think that Aaron Jones is going to have a good game against a bad Colts defense. So you will possibly have some buyer's remorse, but McLaurin is a legit number 1 wide receiver in the league. In fantasy football, I think he's a legit number 2. The way your lineup's set, if your running backs can get steady production, and McLaurin ends up adding to your roster, then yeah, you win. Do I think as far as value, I think you slightly lost, but I don't worry about value. If you got a guy on the bench, all right, that's giving 15 points a game, and he's on your bench, it doesn't matter if you add a guy to your roster who's going to give you 17. You see what I'm saying? If you got 2 running backs that are giving you 25 points a game, and you got a running back on the bench, it gives you 20, but your wide receivers are getting 12 and 10. You add a wide receiver, it gives you 15. Who cares? I think you have a starting wide receiver, and one thing I like is I was not aware. So this is a good one. I completely agree. I've seen lots of running backs come back from injury. The one thing about CMC, you have to realize his natural body weight's probably about 195, 200. And what he did is that he wanted to put on the extra weight because he wanted to be an every down back. Now, Emmitt Smith did the same thing. Now, he did it kind of gradual over the course of his career. It seemed like every year he put on like an extra, 5 or 10 pounds of muscle. And then his final year at Arizona, I think he was like at 225, almost 230. Reggie Bush did the same thing. His body couldn't handle it because even though you're adding muscle, your joints, ligaments, bones, they don't increase. Now, there's a lot of linemen that are naturally 200 pounds. They play at 300. But one thing about CMC is that I've noticed that since he's put on the weight, he's had problems with his body, and it's if I'm correct, it's like arthritis in his knees. There is a legitimate issue, and I've always thought that, hey, putting on the weight, great, you can be an every down back. Are you going to be able to stay healthy? One of the issues Carolina had was that, hey, he's a top 10 player in the NFL. He can't stay healthy. And last year, if you go back, I said the same thing. It's like, well, hey, this is maybe the best running back in football, but he's going to miss some games due to injury, and he proved me wrong. I remember Derrick Henry. I remember when he missed 8 weeks, he came back. He just wasn't the same guy. Different body types completely, but one thing that stands out, you have no idea how a guy is going to respond when he comes back to injury. Remember, they gave him a nice bonus this offseason. It was a 2-year, $35 million bonus. There could be, he may have to play X amount of snaps in order to get some of that money. I mean, it may be a situation where, hey, I gotta play so I can get a $5 million bonus, and I don't have to play at 100%. I can just kind of get out there. I think it's much more likely that CMC, if he comes back, he's not going to be the same guy. And that's just part of being a man too. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, hey, I want to prove that I can do it. I don't like being told I can't do something. I'm going to try to prove you wrong. I had pins in my foot due to a motorcycle accident. I am limited. When I first got back, I tried to prove I wasn't, and then I had some setbacks, and this is just kind of human nature. So no, I don't think he's going to be the same guy coming back. He might. We're going to find out. Like, the first time he steps on the field, he may look good for the first couple of carries. Is he going to be in football shape? That's another thing. He's probably not going to be able to handle 25 carries the way he was. We're going to have to see. But I agree. Yeah, we're going to find out. Keaton, got him already behind on comments, Keaton. I'm so sorry it took me so long. Sup, Dan? Tyreek Hill is currently not happy with Mike McDaniel and Dolphins as a whole. He shouldn't have left Mahomes. This is not new. He complained when he was in Kansas City he wasn't getting enough touches, even though he's like the most targeted receiver in the NFL. I was upset when I saw that he was handcuffed to the ground after being stopped for a speeding ticket. Then I saw the way he behaved. It was it's kind of funny I say this because I had an incident with a police officer last night around midnight. Super friendly conversation, super awesome guy. Tyreek Hill is always going to be one of these guys. Part of the reason Kansas City was willing to part with him was not just the contract, but there was talk he was kind of a locker room guy. He wasn't overly happy in Kansas City, even though he was being the most targeted receiver in the NFL. Look, there was a lot of Dolphins fans that were there was some Super Bowl predictions with Miami in the Super Bowl. There was. I mean, Miami thought they were a playoff team. I didn't. I don't remember if you did. This isn't news. Tyreek Hill's a guy that's always has a world of talent. Always going to have some baggage. Always going to have some issues. So I am starting Mahomes, Hall, A-Chain, Devontae Smith, Downs, Njoku, Amani in the flex. Butler in the Vikings D, 10-man PPR league. This is solid. Mahomes against the tough Bucks secondary. Remember, they gave up 500, but they didn't have Antoine Winfield. So you could have a big game. Hopefully, Mahomes has been throwing a lot of picks, but could have a huge game. Breece Hall Thursday night. Hopefully, we're celebrating after Thursday night in his 35 points. A-Chain solid. Smith and Downs. Downs Sunday night. We're going to find out. I do like this. I'm especially with Flacco. Devontae Smith is interesting. The number 2 guy, but could put up some points. Bad Jacksonville team. Sounds a little goofy, but you're kind of hoping Jacksonville puts up some points. That way they're forced to throw the ball and not just run the ball. Njoku's production, I tough matchup against the Chargers, but production is going to start going up. I like it. Don't blame you for going Vikings over Chiefs. Juju may not play. Myers and Coleman. Yeah, who to play instead of Smith is tough because Juju or Jacoby or Keon may be a better option than Smith. I like the fact that you're going against a bad Jags defense, so I like that part. Njoku over Hawkinson. You don't know if Hawkinson's going to play. Monty over. If Tracy plays, you may want to consider getting Tyrone Tracy in. I know he had that head injury. Didn't you just trade for him, if I'm correct? Or am I thinking of somebody else? I apologize. If Tyrone Tracy plays, I'm not sold on Washington's defense. I am not. You may want to consider that. That said, I'm also not sold on Green Bay's defense. Keep an eye. I would strongly consider Tracy over Monty, but keep in mind, I know being on the injury report, I get it. Hey, I'm gonna Tyrone Tracy's a guy I would really consider. Look, you're probably. I know he's questionable right now. Non-participant Wednesdays. Okay, this is 34 minutes ago per ESPN. I would keep an eye out on Tyrone Tracy. I do like Tyrone Tracy a little more than Montgomery, but with the injury issue, I'd stick with as is. Jonathan Brooks is coming back to practice. Apparently, he's going to be elevated off the squad. You have no idea of his production, but keep in mind, Garando's on a bye. So if you had a choice to pick up Mason Garando or Jonathan Brooks, for this week, I don't expect Brooks to do anything, just full disclosure. But going forward, ESPN says he was a full participant in Wednesday's practice, but he still remains on the reserve non-injury football list. So that's what ESPN is reporting, but he was full participant in practice. I would pick up Brooks in your situation where you're looking at Mason, you're looking at Garando. The reason why is that your starters are set. Okay, your starters are set. I can't emphasize this enough. Jonathan Brooks may just be special teams fodder. He may be behind Miles Sanders on the depth chart. Chuba Hubbard's playing really well. It's kind of a shame that that's going to be overlooked. Bryce Young, I believe, is getting the start again this week. Carolina's just waving the white flag. That said, I firmly believe that Jonathan Brooks has the potential to be a top 10 fantasy football player. Top 10. I really think Jonathan Brooks could be a guy that once he gets on the field, he could just tear it up. If you're not aware, Jonathan Brooks set a Texas high school rushing record. I don't know if you're aware, Texas high school football is unlike anything else in any part of the country. It's funny. I was listening to Max Crosby, and he played high school football in Texas, and he took a scholarship because of an injury to Eastern Michigan. He said that he's like, "Where is everybody?" Eastern Michigan is a 1A school, but they play in the MAC. He says, yeah, in Texas high school, there was like tailgating, stadiums are twice as big. I mean, it's not uncommon in Texas high school to have 50,000 people attend a game. Anywhere from 5 to 8, depending on the league and status, but you're looking at anywhere from like 5 to 8 future NFL players on a Texas high school team. There was a South Lake and just outside of Dallas. You may not remember these players. Chase Daniel, who's now doing commentary, long time, mostly backup. His backup was Blaine Gabbert, mostly a long-time backup, but Blaine Gabbert was the number 8 overall pick. I mean, and Southlake also has several other NFL players. There's a handful of high schools in Texas that have like a handful of NFL players. Jonathan Brooks set a Texas high school rushing record. I can't emphasize how good that is. And he would have been a first round pick barring injury. So I do like Jonathan Brooks. I cannot emphasize this enough. He may, when he gets activated, be a special teams third string player. You have no idea. Do I like him for you to pick up? Absolutely. I'm not a big Spears fan. I like Pollard quite a bit. I was really expecting Spears to get a little more production. He just hasn't panned out that way. Perry, I am doing fantastic. It's Fantasy Football Wednesday. I'm excited. I'm glad to see you, man. My day is always better when I see you in the comments. Perry, how are you doing today? How are things in beautiful Canada? It's a little chilly here in beautiful Las Vegas. I imagine it's probably much colder where you're at. Fern, 316. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was so behind on comments. So love your content, Fern. I don't recognize you, so if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Otten or Craft, great choice. If you have both of them, great job. I say this quite a bit. It's kind of like, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream, chocolate or strawberry? There's not really a wrong answer. I personally love playing guys on Monday night. That is just my personal preference. I love having, a guy the last game of the week. Like I said, personal preference only. With Kraft, you have a variety of different things to think about, but the number one thing you have to think about is who's the starting quarterback. If it's Malik Willis, it's no thought. You go with Otten. If Jordan Love is the quarterback, then you have to make a decision. I would lean towards Otten. The reason why is that there's so much going on with Green Bay's offense, even with Jordan Love there. You take Jordan Love out, or if Jordan Love's not 100%, I love Kraft's game. I love his upside. I love the fact that once Green Bay got rid of Rodgers, they decided, hey, we're going to surround Jordan Love with weapons. They drafted Kraft. They drafted another tight end in the second round before him. He's just been injured. But these two guys are going to be excellent weapons. Kraft, I thought, was the more raw prospect, but it's really been tearing it up. I think he went to South Dakota State. They also drafted 3 receivers that are playing really well, too. So I like Otten. If you say, hey, Dan, I'm going to do my own thing, I'm going to go ahead and go with Kraft. I'm not. I say this a lot. I'd rather you go against my advice and win than take my advice and lose. So I like Otten by a little bit. Again, it's kind of your personal preference, but I will say this: if Malik Willis plays, you definitely 100% go with Otten. And Daniel Caps has a good point. No Godwin and Evans. The one thing about Otten is I could see Kansas City going out of their way to try to take Otten out of the game. But I really think that he's probably going to get 8 to 10 targets no matter what. With Kraft, you have no idea. I do think you have more upside with Kraft, but just a little bit. Jeff, what's up, brother? Who should I flex? Full PPR, Bigsby, or D Hop? I'm always a fan of doing a 3-down running back, especially one that's kind of taken over as a starting running back in Jacksonville. Now that's not really a official. Now, keep in mind, Jacksonville does have a tough matchup this week. You're going to Philly. It's a tough one. I mean, but oh, wait a minute, Tank Bigsby. Okay, so listen, Tank Bigsby is just popped up as questionable in the injury report, so we'll keep an eye out on that. But I always like 3 down running backs more than I like wide receivers. And one thing about Doug Peterson, or I'm sorry, Doug Peterson. Wow. One thing about DeAndre Hopkins is you're not really sure how much he's going to play. Now, the way things look in Kansas City, let's take a look here, is that I do think he's going to get more and more touches. I really do. Juju Smith-Schuster is questionable. If he comes back and he plays, it could eat up some touches. But I do know the Kansas City Chiefs do want to get DeAndre Hopkins a little more involved in the offense. I predicted a touchdown last week, and I was wrong. It wouldn't surprise me if he gets into the end zone. It really wouldn't surprise me. But I think at maximum, you're looking at a 5-catch, 60-yard, 1-touchdown performance. With Bigsby, you could get 100 yards and a touchdown despite going against a good defense. I would really go with Bigsby. I just found out he's on the injury report. Keep an eye out on that. But as of right now, hopefully he stays healthy. Go with Bigsby. Go with the 3 down back. Full disclosure, Jeff, I am a Chiefs fan. I learned gray today, but I'm a Chiefs fan, so keep in mind. Chaka, what's up, brother? Would you trade Higgins in return for Tillman in Downs PPR redraft? Yes. Full disclosure, and I apologize. I'm really behind on comments, so I didn't realize I was so far behind. Full disclosure, the answer is yes. I also like to roll the dice. I also really like Tillman coming out of Tennessee, and I like Downs now that Joe Flacco's the starting quarterback. You are giving up some steady production in Higgins. I really thought they were going to phase him out, maybe move him at the trade deadline. Still a possibility. Still a possibility. Don't be surprised if Higgins is moved. Then you have a whole new thing to worry about. But you're giving up some steady production, but you're giving up at best a very high-end number 2 for a possible 1 and a 2. I like this move. Keep in mind, you're giving up some steady production for a very small sample size in Tillman and Downs. I like Tillman coming out of Tennessee. I was a little concerned when the Browns traded for Judy, gave him a contract. It made me think that he was on the way out. But look, you got rid of Cooper. You're probably going to roll with Jameis Winston. Roll the dice. I like it. I like it. Let me know what you do, man. I'm sorry it took so long. We're about the same age. It's awesome. I do. I think this could be a big matchup. Derek, yo, man. I'm sorry it took so long, brother. So good to see you, man. Perry, at the JMO off-field issues are getting worse. Our base needs to stop giving him pass signals drafting him a line after his rookie deal was done. I didn't know that, but no, the warrant for his arrest is a big deal. This is not. I didn't like to trade up to 12 to get him because I thought the Lions were rebuilding. You wanted something steady. You didn't want to bank on potential. Then the gambling really bothered me. Then I didn't like the way they were using him. And now you use him right, and then it's a suspension. Now he's arrested. I know it's a gun charge. I didn't read the specifics. I'm a big gun fan. I own several. But the problem is with trading him, you're not going to get a lot. But no, this is not smart. Not smart. Zaire, man, I'm glad to see you again, brother. I'm so sorry it took me so long to get to these comments. I got behind. Yeah. Look, you had some production, and he may be able to help you this year. I don't think you can bank on him going forward. So, would you do Deontay and Chase for McLaren? AK, I apologize. I'm behind on comments. So I'm doing this without going back and looking back at your roster. I'm about 25 minutes behind. So AK, you've been in the comments. I'm going to give you the maximum amount value. So if I don't answer your question in full today, drop a comment. I'll get to it tonight. I'll do everything I can to help you out because I've recognized you in the comments. And I want to make sure I answer everybody. If I remember correctly, Chase is not a starter. If I remember right, and I'm assuming you're talking Chase Brown, not Jamar Chase. If I remember correctly, Chase Brown's not starting for you. I would do this move if I remember your lineup correctly. You know what? I'll take the time here. I want to, because I want to make sure I answer your question. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're the one who has. Yeah. Absolutely, I would. Absolutely, I would. Your situation. Absolutely, he becomes your wide receiver number 3, and you're not playing him. Yeah. Your situation, whoever you're trading for, I think that they'll be banking on Deontay. They'll be disappointed. I like this for you. Zachary Telford, what's up, brother? What do you think about Packers wide receiver room with or without Love, especially with the Lions matchup? Without Love, it's terrible. I mean, Willis has not figured out how to be an NFL passer despite some arm talent and inability. More of a runner. Without Love, Packers wide receiving room is bad. With Love, if he's 85+%, I like it, but you never know who's going to be the main guy. You got a lot of ability and a lot of talent. I apologize for how long it took for me to get to your comment. So, Lipsy, what's up, brother? I don't recognize you, man. Make sure you give me the thumbs up and please subscribe if you haven't already. Do you think I'm good on dropping JMO for a QB? I don't trust Kyler this week, and Purdy is on a bye. Well, it's a tough matchup, to be honest with you, going against the Bears. I don't blame you at all for saying, hey, look, I'm going against Kyler Murray's always been an up and down dude. Now you're going against a really tough defense. You're at home. What quarterback do you have? Like which one? And I'm so sorry it took me so long to get to you. I'm answering every question, though. Baker or Hurts, assuming Hurts. T. Higgins, Josh Downs, wide receiver number 2, Tyrone Tracy, Brian Robinson, Tillman, Gibbs, or J.K. Dobbins. Okay. Going against tough defense, but I love guys on Monday night. I like Hurts against a bad Jacksonville defense. The one thing I would worry about with Hurts is that if you're able to stifle the Jacksonville offense, which is definitely possible, are you just going to kind of lean on Barkley and, you're up by 20 points and Hurts doesn't have to do anything? That's what I would worry about. With Baker Mayfield, even if you're up by 20, you're still going to throw the ball. But I always look at matchups, and I like Hurts against a bad Jaguars defense at home rather than Baker on the road against a tough Chiefs defense on Monday night. So that's just my opinion. Keep in mind, if it gets to be a blowout, you're going to hate me. Because Baker, no matter what's going to put up some points. Let's be very clear. Like, he is going to score some points, but Hurts could have a monster game against a bad Jags defense. T. Higgins or Josh Downs, wide receiver number 2. That's a good one. The Raiders have some really good players on defense. It's just the offense is just so limited that I expect Cincinnati to handle things pretty well. The one thing about Downs is that I love the Vikings defense, and I think it will cause problems. But with the Colts having such a bad defense of their own, I think Minnesota's going to score some points. So Flacco is going to have no choice but to throw the football. Downs by a hair. Higgins is easily the better player. Well, maybe not easily, but I like Downs slightly more. Out of your running backs, I love J.K. Dobbins. I've been saying that for a while. Oh, wait a minute, wide receiver number 2. I didn't see Tillman in here. Huh. You are going against a really tough defense. Really tough defense against the Chargers, but yeah, I'm going to level with you. The choice is either Down or Tillman's. That's a tough one, man. You're rolling the dice a little bit with Baker or Hurts. So normally, if I'm rolling the dice in one spot, I like to get some steady production in another. So I might lean towards Tillman here. I know it sounds a little contradictory, but the reason why I would do that is roll the dice with Tillman because he could be the number 1, could have a massive game. With Higgins and Downs, you're going with the wide receiver number 2s. Okay. Tyrone Tracy, if he's healthy, is the pick. I'm not sold on Washington's defense. If he's not, you can go Gibbs against a Packers defense that I'm not sold on. Now, this is going to get a little confusing. All right. If Willis is the quarterback, I would definitely go with Dobbins. If Love's the quarterback, I'm sorry. If Jordan Love starts, Gibbs could have a monster game. If Malik Willis starts, I could see Montgomery getting more touches. I could see the Lions really winning. Gibbs may not be as valuable. All right. Hopefully that made sense. Go with Dobbins. All right. Tough matchup against the Browns. Very tough matchup against the Browns. But I like Dobbins more than I like Robinson. Hopefully that made sense. But in a PPR league, Tyrone Tracy, if he plays, I think you have to start him. I have no idea if it's you have 1 or 2 spots available. So that's a tough one because Tyrone Tracy, if he starts, I'm giving you a couple different answers here, so I apologize. And I know you've waited a while to hear this. So Tyrone Tracy, if he's healthy. If he's not, who's starting? If it's Jordan Love, go with Gibbs. If it's Malik Willis, go with Dobbins. All right. You know what? I'm going to skip the commercial break because I'm so far behind. Trade Josh Allen and Monty for Saquon. Ooh, God, I have Dak as my backup, and I can add Stroud or Tua from waivers. Well, I'd Stroud because you have no idea what to expect from Tua. Wow, what a big trade. Because here's the deal. Saquon Barkley is maybe the fantasy football MVP, and his potential is unlimited. He could absolutely be unlimited potential. Actually, to be honest with you, I love Dak in fantasy football. If I need to win a game, I'd probably go with Josh Allen. If I'm playing fantasy football, I'd rather have Dak. Monty gives you some solid production. I'm going to be honest with you. I hate doing this, but I need a little more. I have to give you. I have to say I need a little more information But I will say this. I kind of like it, but you're making a big risk because Monty's going to get 10 to 15 touches every game. Very solid production. Josh Allen is having a great season. Fantasy football wise, I actually like Dak a little more. Dallas is more of a pass happy team. The running back situation's not good. Saquon Barkley, seriously, every single week he could get you, 20 to 30. And by the way, if you can add Stroud, do add Stroud more than Tua. You have no idea what to expect from Tua. You're gonna hate yourself if Tua gets hurt. CJ Stroud production fantasy wise has gone down, but he's been playing really well. I need a little more information on your roster. Is if Monty is a starter and Josh Allen's your starter and you like Allen more than you like Dak, don't make the move. I would go at Dak over Allen. If Monty's sitting on your bench, make this move. Can you send me more of your roster? And I'm so sorry. I'm skipping the commercial break. I'm going to try to get to everybody. All right. Hopefully I got that right for you. With CMC, I didn't like going to – no, I didn't either, Daniel. I agree completely with you, and I've seen this happen. So I think you're making a smart move being cautious. I don't bank on him being the same guy. Cam, welcome back, brother. I'm so sorry. So sorry it took me so long. Yeah, he's at practice. He could. You never know. Amazement. Oh, my God. I'm so sorry it took me so long. What's up, Dan? You know I got to holler at you this week. My guy prediction, you'll be 8-0. Yeah, I like us. I don't know if you saw my video or not. The link is in the description below. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a very, very, very close game. However, even after you go to 4-5, don't rule out catching up to the Falcons. I know they may have swept you, but don't roll it out. The one thing about the Falcons is they're 4-0 in the NFC South, but they're only 1-3 outside the NFC South. You know, I mean, they got some games coming up. This is a tough one against Dallas. So 9-8 still may get you the division. God, it's good to see you, brother. Or should I drop Baker for Stafford? I'm going to level with you. I like Stafford this week quite a bit. I mean, you got Coop, you got Nakuda. I am not sold on Seattle's defense at all. For the rest of the season, I'm not sure. This week, 100%. I'd have to think about it, but little love to Keaton. I already know Andy Reid is swimming at the mouth this week going against our D. Such a disappointment so far. Frustrated with Bowles since this is his D and he still makes the calls. Honestly, getting turnovers and quick points are only chance, but your D is really tough. So maybe a short field up. Yes, just really enjoy it. There, by the way, I'm so sorry it took me so long. You can see it through his mustache. I actually do like Otten this week. We went away from him in the second half last Sunday, which is frustrating. Kelsey should feast on us as far as catches. We are terrible in the middle of the field. Yeah, I that's part of it. We have a guy by the name of Noah Gray, and I think he could have some production. I also think that Juju Smith-Schuster comes back this week. He could have some production. I've been saying this. I said this a lot last week. I think DeAndre Hopkins gets in the end. He's always a red zone target. I think the Chiefs are going to focus on that. But I predicted a very close game. I'm actually almost tempted to put money on the Bucs to cover. But Amazement, I hope that you're there Monday. I will be doing – there's going to be no show Monday, but I will be doing the Chiefs play-by-play live. So I hope to see you Monday. And also, if Dallas beats Atlanta, it's not going to be that bad. I'm hoping you can catch the Falcons and make that interesting. Bryce Young didn't look as bad as he did in weeks 1 and 2. Seems his development and practice. Here's the deal, Cam, and I am so sorry to everybody that I'm going to get to every single comment. I'm skipping my commercial break because I want to get caught up here. He's always had talent. He's always had talent. He's always had ability. I questioned not his height, but his size. You can be short, but I question because I don't care what they listed him at. He looked like he played at about 185. Does he have the ability to handle getting hit by? Look, quarterbacks are protected. I know, but look, this is a guy that uses his legs. So can he handle being hit constantly by NFL DBs, linebackers, defensive backs, etc.? Especially when your offensive line's not great. They drafted a couple years ago one of my favorite players, a guy by the name of Ike Ekwonu. I thought by now he would be close to a Pro Bowl caliber left tackle. That's not the case. Another thing is that you got to understand, this is going to sound very basic, but he went to, I think it's Modern Day Cell, something like that. Anyway, it's a California high school. It's produced a lot of NFL players. They had a streak. It was like 107. It was broken a couple years ago, but it was like 107 straight wins. Actually watched the high school game against him, and the guy is DJ, a guy who's in the chat, not today, but one of my regulars calls him DJ Ukulele, the starting quarterback at Florida State. There's the high school game where Bryce Young plays against him and loses because DJ Ukulele ended up being, and I'm butchering the name, I'm so sorry, ended up being the number 1 player coming out of high school. Number 2 was CJ Stroud. Actually, number 2 was either Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. But coming to high school, that guy who's benched at Florida State was ranked higher than CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. He lost like 2 games in high school. I watched one of them on TV. At Alabama, he won national championship, but lost how many times? 4? Here's a guy in about 8 years of playing football, lost 9 games total. Now you go to a team where he's probably, I seriously would not be surprised if Carolina doesn't win again. Or so 1-16. How do you handle that? It's hard to say. And another thing is that Alabama, he's with a well-run program. Things are not well-run in Carolina. Alabama with Saban was the best-run football program in the country. If you want to tell me Georgia, great. But, and I'm not saying the best program, I'm just saying the most well-run, best coach. You want to tell me Michigan was better? Fine, but I wouldn't agree. Bottom line, he's got talent. He has ability. The quarterback position's different than any other position. You need everything around you to work. That was one thing about Patrick Mahomes is he kind of entered the perfect storm in Kansas City. He had a chance to sit on the bench and develop something Bryce Young didn't do. He had talent surrounding him. He had a great coaching staff. I don't know about the coaching staff, but I'm assuming from the way that Carolina's been playing, it's not good. The organization isn't good. He doesn't have weapons. But do I expect Bryce Young to play better? Yeah. And if I'm Carolina, you have to figure out, do you want to move forward with Bryce Young, or do you want to use what could be the number 1 pick in the draft again on either Shadir Sanders or Cam Ward, which look like the 2 best quarterbacks? But yeah, I'm not surprised to see him playing better. But I don't know. I mean, fantasy wise, I wouldn't trust him, but I'm pulling for the kid. We'll see. Cam, it's good to see you, man. I'm sorry it took so long to get to your comments. TS, what's up, my brother? Flex, PPR, Pollard, or Devontae Smith? Pollard has a tough matchup this week against New England, who, despite being a 2-win team, is by the way, I didn't get it, Zerbe. I apologize. I didn't get it. But thank you so much. I'm going to get to your question, but I just saw this pop up. Normally, what happens is when I get a super chat, I get a starred comment, and then it auto stars super chat. So I'm not really sure what happened, but I do want to thank you. I'm going to answer your question too. I always like 3-down running backs more than I like receivers, especially in a PPR league. Connor's not really a catch the ball type of guy, and he's got a tough matchup against the Bears. With Pollard, even though he has a tough matchup, he's more likely to be targeted more. It wouldn't surprise me out of these three if Pollard has the most receptions. Devontae Smith, you're really rolling the dice against a bad Jacksonville defense. I can see a situation where Philly gets up by 20 points and they just try to run the ball. I would go with Pollard. Sorry it took so long to get your comment. And Zerbe, man, yeah, I have no idea why. I have no idea why that happened, man. I'm really sorry. I'm really, really, really sorry about that. I don't want to bore you too much in my personal life, but right after the show, I have to go directly to work. But when I get home, I'll look into it and see if there's something wrong with the settings. And then there's also a way I can reach out to YouTube. So I apologize because I didn't get one. I got no notification at all. So because the way it's set up is that all super chats are starred, and I didn't get one. So, all right, PPR, drop Mason for Coleman, Dowell, Ridley, or I'm assuming Jerry Jeudy. Okay. So, all right. So Mason's not playing this week. All right. You know, you're rolling the dice with Keon Coleman. Bad Dolphins defense. But honestly, you have no idea what's going on here. Jerry Jeudy, again, tough defense. You have no idea what's going on. I wouldn't recommend either one of those guys. Thing is with Coleman is against a bad Dolphins defense. You have an idea. Calvin Ridley, I have no idea. I'm not a fan of dropping a 3-down running back for a receiver. Now with Dowell, this is interesting here because I have no idea. I'm assuming you're when you say Dowdle, I'm assuming you're talking Rico Dowdle, the running back for the Cowboys. Let me know in the comments section. Because I like the idea of having in a PPR league having a 3-down back. And Dowdle is a guy I kept on saying, you know, I don't like him, but he keeps on impressing me. I didn't play last week, but I think he's fine going forward. I think he's okay. We were talking about Jonathan Brooks earlier. That would be a big risk, but could have some massive reward. Isaiah Carando is another guy. Again, you have a bye. If you're looking for this week, I would recommend Dowdle, the Cowboys running back. I'm assuming that's what you mean. I'm by the way, I'm not a grammar Nazi. I don't mind that you misspell. I just want to make sure I have the correct player. The other three receivers are really up and down. With Ridley and Jeudy, you have some tough matchups. Coleman, you have a better matchup. But I have no idea what to think with Buffalo. Keep in mind you have Amari Cooper, you have Shakir, James Cook could have a monster game. This could be, I mean, what you're hoping is if you take Coleman that Miami puts up some points and Josh Allen has an opportunity to utilize a variety of different weapons. So, hopefully I answered you, and I'm so sorry about the super chat because I didn't get it, and if you were charged for it, I don't know if it helps out any at all, but you have documented proof of me saying you didn't get it. You may be able to reach out to your company and get your money back, or maybe it'll go through. I have no idea. All I know is I didn't get it. But Azurbe, thank you so much. That means a lot. It really does. Rex Burkhead went to your high school. Oh, cool. No, I nobody played in my high school, but a few years after I graduated, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. He's the Giants' backup quarterback right now, second round pick. Really like the kid. Had a lot of potential coming out of Missouri. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. Drew Lock. Yeah, Drew Lock went to the same high school. Pitts or Njoku? That's a great question. So Pitts finally has a little bit of production. Dallas's defense is not good. Njoku, Njoku has a world of potential now that you have Winston. I hate the way that they use Pitts in Atlanta with a passion. And I think Winston will start getting things ramped up with Njoku. But that said, you have a really tough matchup against a good Chargers defense. I have no idea what to expect in Dallas. I like Pitts a little more. Pitts is more athletic. He has more upside. I just hate the way they use him. I think that they're going to use Njoku correctly in this offense under Winston. But keep in mind, I mean, here's what you have in Cleveland, all right? You have an offense that struggled all year. The only production they had was against a Ravens defense, which is not playing well right now. All right? Not playing well at all. So yeah, you have to consider that. I like Pitts. You have to understand something with Pitts. I have such a man crush. I have a man crush on both these guys coming out of college. I like the upside. I like the way. Here's the deal. I like the way they're using Njoku in Cleveland, especially after last week. And I think going forward, he's going to be a starter. I hate the way they use Pitts, but his upside is massive. This seriously, Pitts is a guy that should be doing crazy stuff in the NFL. I mean, there's no reason why he shouldn't have over 10 touchdowns and 1,000 yards every year. And I don't know why. I watched him play against Kansas City in 3-point stance, and I'm like, if he was a Kansas City Chief, there's no way Andy Reid would ever put him in a 3-point stance. He's a big receiver, both these guys. Njoku was a wide receiver. And then he went to Miami and he just put on weight. And they're like, why don't you switch over to tight end? He wasn't even familiar with it. And he struggled for the first couple of years of his career. Now he's an excellent tight end. I have such a man crush on both these guys. You probably have. So here, this is another phrase. I haven't used it today. At least I don't think I have. Njoku has a higher floor. Pitts has a higher ceiling. If you're projected to win, I would go with Njoku. If you're projected to lose and you need some points, go with Pitts. But out of the two of them, if I had my choice, regardless, I would go with Pitts. I would go with the massive upside. But you have two really, really good options. Hopefully I help out TS. I don't recognize you, so man, please hit that subscribe button. Oh God, it's chilly. It's like 60 here. Yeah. Tip your food delivery driver, please. As somebody who's done that for quite a bit, there's nothing more frustrating than picking up a food delivery and realizing you're only getting tipped $1. Yeah, hey Perry, I hope you get better, brother. Travis Kelce for Otten and Dobbs. That's interesting. Fletcher Cox. I got a future Hall of Fame. No, I'm teasing. Fletcher Cox, I don't recognize you. Of course, I would recognize having a future Hall of Famer in the chat. I could rant about Fletcher Cox for a while. So please hit the subscribe if you haven't already. I'm a longtime Chiefs fan. I did the video top 10 tight ends of all time. I said Travis Kelce was number one. I can watch the video yourself. It's a fantastic video. With Dobbs, you're going to get inconsistent production. You really are. I don't know if Dobbs helps you out or not, but I like the idea of a 1-for-2 trade. Kelce could have a really good game on Monday night. Really good game. It wouldn't surprise me if Kelce has a 8-catch, 80-yard, 1 or 2 touchdown performance. Look, going forward for the rest of the year, it wouldn't surprise me if Otten outproduces Kelce. Really wouldn't. You don't have any other options. He's an excellent tight end. He's also a lot younger than the 35-year-old Kelce. I think straight up, I would probably do it, even though I'm a Chiefs fan. You get Dobbs for the side, yeah, make the move. Let me know what you do. Listen, I will tell you this. Like, it would not surprise me if Kelce is much more productive than Otten this week. But I do like this move because you're trading a starter for a starter, and then you get something extra in Dobbs. And Otten could have a monster game. I mean, what else are they going to do? Yeah, I would make this move, even though I'm a diehard Chiefs fan, and I love Travis Kelce. Let me know what you end up doing, and please hit the subscribe. Stay in touch with me, Fletcher. And also, if you do make this move, are you going to play Dobbs? Keep in mind, we already talked about this earlier. If Malik Willis is the starter, his value drops big time. And Dobbs is one of those guys, production's always going to be all over the place. Jeff says, which I do at my tight end starter is Otten by Hawkinson coming back. That's a tough one. You have to figure out. I haven't had a chance to go through the injury report. I know Hawkinson yesterday was questionable. I like Hawkinson coming back quite a bit. What I would do, and again, this is personal preference. I love having guys play on Monday Night Football. I would stick with Otten. Wait to what you see against a bad Colts defense, because if he plays, you want to see if he's 100%. We talked about this with CMC. Sometimes you come back too early. You have a maybe he's not the same guy. He may also come back and be a Pro Bowl caliber tight end. I mean, when healthy, I like Hawkinson better than Otten if I'm just picking players. I don't even think it's really a debate. But the one thing about Otten is that you have 2 receivers down. He's going to get more targets. Is the production going to be there? Because they're going to focus on Otten. With Hawkinson, he's going to be left wide open because you're going to have to worry about Justin Jefferson. You're going to have to worry about Addison. You have some potential for a lot of production. I would stick with Otten. That's my opinion. After this week, Jeff, stay in touch with me. Let me know what you do, because I say this a lot, and I mean it. I'd rather you not take my advice and win, then take my advice and lose. So let me know. Perry says there's nothing wrong with responsibility, gun ownership, but that's right. You need to be a responsible gun owner. I think the Lions just keep those contracts up, let them walk. I agree completely. You're not going to be able to trade somebody like this. I mean, there is a possibility that you do maybe get a good trade offer, but I doubt it. Teams really don't like making trades for players that have these type of issues. I said this also. I went on the Luke G show and I said you may want to consider trading him when his return's high, and I got laughed out of the building. Now this looks smart, but I mean, look, in a couple of years from now, your salary cap situation's terrible. In 3 years from now, you have to pay Jared Goff over $69 million. Like, even if the cap goes up, that's going to eat over 20% of your cap. That's one player. I don't even know what Amon-Ra, Penei Sewell, Alden McNeil are getting that year. You're honestly, even if everything was good with Jameson Williams, you may not be able to pay him anyway. I got Kyler and Purdy. Was aiming on getting Darnold or Stafford on waivers and dropping J-Mo to get a quarterback. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I like Darnold or Stafford better in this situation. Look, the Bears have a great defense. I mean, this could be the game Kyler Murray just blows up. I mean, you have to understand Kyler Murray could explode at any time and have a game where he wins a fantasy football league by yourself. I mean, he can go for 300, 100 any game. But honestly, I like both these quarterbacks better. I mean, both these guys are going against bad defenses. Keep in mind, if you want to argue Seattle doesn't have a bad defense, great. Seattle doesn't have a bad defense. I'm not a fan. Colts have a bad defense, and you're at home in a dome. I wouldn't blame you. Get either one. I would drop Williams. I wouldn't even think about it. Get one of these quarterbacks, and then here's the good news: that if you pick up Darnold or Stafford, pick up either one. After Purdy comes back from a bye, you have some really good options for a trade. Stay in touch with me. Let me know what you do. Never bench Gibbs. All right. I love it. Derek, Saquon's return rest of schedule is very strong, including the playoffs. I'm 5-3. My running backs are Achane, Gibbs, Monty, Charbs. Wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, Reed Higgins, Deontay Shakir. Oh God, let me see if I remember your trade correctly, Derek. Oh crap. Sorry, Derek. Josh Allen and Monty for Saquon. And I might have to star that so I can remember it. You got Gibbs, who the Lions like more. I didn't realize that, so I like that. I also like Charbs just in case you Kenneth Walker goes down. I'm not a fan of your receivers at all. I'm assuming 2 running backs and a flex. So you make this move you get rid of Monty, you add Saquon. God, I really like it. Let me throw this out here. Let me just throw this out. Let me just throw this out. I'm just asking. Is there any possibility he wants to kick in a receiver? Because I really want to see you upgrade your receiver position. Would I do this? I absolutely would do this. And I think you're in good shape. I just want to see you upgrade your receiver position because Garrett Wilson's I still think's the one, even and I'm assuming you're starting him on Thursday. Reed's up and down. Dante and Shakir, I don't think have a lot of value, and Higgins is still number 2. Can you get a receiver, or are you just keeping that spot open because you want to pick up a quarterback? So let me know. But yeah, I would like it because A-Chain, Gibbs, Saquon, you're getting a lot of points. Then you got Dak. He's going to put up some points. You're set. The only thing is that we got to fix that receiver position, and I think we can do that. But make the trade. I would pick up the quarterback, and then let's figure out if you can make a trade. I would ask for a receiver or anybody else in return, unless you're dead set on keeping that spot open so you can pick up a quarterback. But you still need to upgrade the receiver position. But it's good that you're 5-3. You make this move. You get Dak, you get Saquon, A-Chain stays healthy, right? Gibbs has production. Hopefully, Jordan Love starts in your situation. Start Garrett Wilson on Thursday night. Hopefully, he has a big game. You're 6-3. Let me know what happens. Let me know if you pulled the trigger. Ayla rocks. I don't recognize the name, so please hit that subscribe button. McConkey for Shakir. I have Josh Allen. Oh God. I'm not a Shakir fan, and if you've been watching my show, I don't recognize the name, so please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm not a McConkey fan. I do like Shakir. McConkey, I advised. Somebody asked me McConkey or Devontae Williams, like, oh, it's no brainer. You want to go with Devontae Williams, who had 22 touches. I think McConkey only had 8, but McConkey had over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Williams had, I think, combined 50 yards and no touchdowns. So, this week, I like Shakir better. Going forward, I like McConkey better. Ideally, you're not. These are low-end flex options, low-end number 2s. If you're talking this week, yeah, I like Shakir better. Going forward, McConkey's doing what I didn't think would happen in becoming the number 1 guy with Shakir. Amari Cooper's going to be the number 1 guy, and then Shakir's fighting Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid for touches. So this week against a bad Dolphins defense, I don't hate it. And you're going to have a few weeks where Shakir outproduces McConkey, but to be honest with you, for the rest of the season, McConkey is going to put up, I think, a lot more points than Shakir. I like Shakir for this week. This week only, but going forward, here's a drill. Here's what I would do if you have McConkey and you want to trade for Shakir. That they're going to like that pick. You may luck out and Shakir gets in the end zone. Then I would try to move on from Shakir, unless you're dead set on thinking Shakir and Josh Allen have some value. But let me know what you decide. I always say this: I'd rather you not take my advice and win than take my advice and lose. This week, I think Shakir plays better. Overall, for the rest of the year, McConkey's value will be much higher. So that's kind of my thought process. Let me ask you this: could you trade McConkey for Amari Cooper? Throwing that out there. Let me know what you do. Asian Sam, welcome, brother. I'm so sorry it took me so long to get to you. In a keeper league, is it worth the trade for ETN? Okay, first of all, I love ETN's value. I really, really do, even though he's banged up. Bigsby's getting more touches, but in a keeper league, he does have some value. I got multiple questions, and I'm sorry it took so long to get to you because I have several questions I would need to ask. I mean, how many spots are you keeping? Because I have a hard time unless you can keep like 6 spots or something. I have no idea. Most keeper leagues, it's 2 or 3, and I'd be leaning towards somebody else with a little more value than ETN. Now here's the thing: he's a 3-down back. I'm assuming it's a PPR league with home run speed. And him and Trevor Lawrence have an excellent relationship. Trevor Lawrence is not going anywhere. Doug Peterson might. That's what you have to look at, because there's a lot of ifs involved. Is it worth the trade for ETN? Depends on how many spots you have, and the trade value would have to be low, because you got a guy who's banged up, who's being benched, and then if Doug Peterson moves on, you have no idea what's going to happen. So with just the information available that you're giving me, is it worth it? A low-end trade, very low end, and you have to have a lot of spots available. And I mean, I don't want you giving up. I don't know. I don't want you giving up like a starting quarterback or somebody with some massive upside. Like a younger player. I need a little more information, but is it worth a low-end trade for ETN? Yeah, absolutely, because he's a young 3-down back with home run speed. But you have a lot of questions with ETN. And if you're only keeping 2 or 3 players, I mean, I'll be honest with you, like I would take Brian Thomas Jr. over ETN, no questions asked, even if it is a PPR league. I have no idea if Tank Bigsby or ETN is going to be a better option for you to keep going forward. So but a low end trade, I mean, a very low end trade, yeah. Tim, I am so sorry it took me so long to get to your question. Hopefully, I know you like to listen to the rebroadcast, so I know you'll listen to this. Heading out west next week, but a little further west in Vegas, LOL. Oh, man. Well, dude, it's been a while since I've seen you, but you know where I'm at. Anyway, dude offered me Chubb for Devontae Smith and Metcalf for Kelsey. Yes or no? Okay. Would I take Chubb for Devontae Smith? Absolutely. There's a chance that you're getting a top 10 fantasy football running back. And I think you're in a 12-man league. I don't remember. I should know this. You have the ability, unlike a lot of people, you can shoot me a text. I would 100% do that. You have a chance. You could roll the dice, and from what I've seen, Chubb looks kind of solid. And then with Jameis Winston coming back now this week against a tough Chargers defense, you may be frustrated, but and by the way, Cleveland has some tough matchups coming up. Chubb is a running back number 1. Devontae Smith is a wide receiver number 2 at best, so you're excellent value. DK Metcalf for Kelsey's a tough one. I would need to know a little more information because I remember DK Metcalf didn't play last week, but I like his potential. I think he's a solid wide receiver number 2. Kelsey's a starting tight end, but I think he's a lower tier starter. Believe it or not, I don't think he's at top 3 tight end anymore. There's a few tight ends I might put above him. Depending on who your tight ends and wide receivers are, is the option. I mean, if you have a guy that you can put in there, like if you got somebody like McBride, who I absolutely love, and you're not going to miss that production, I would make that move. Depending on who you have at receiver. So I need to know a little more information. I will say this: DK Metcalf's production is been very steady this year. He didn't play last week. I think he'll come back. Potentially a monster game. This week. I do also think Kelsey will have some production. Just shoot from the hip. Yeah, I kind of like DK Metcalf for Kelsey, but here's the drill. I still think Metcalf's a 2. I think Kelsey's a starter, but I need to know a little more information on your roster. Do get Chubb. I've had a crush on Nick Chubb for a long time, so that's part of it. Metcalf for Kelsey, I need a little more information, but I'm leaning yes. Yeah. Mason is your running back number 4. Meant rest of the season, not just okay. Oh, going forward, yeah, I would go with Dowdle. I know he doesn't get a lot of rushing touchdowns, but they're using him as a 3-down back. They seem to really like him, and there's a reason why Dalvin Cook didn't get activated until Dowdle went down. So yeah, I would go with Dowdle over those. Let me double check here, because I would go with Dowdle over, because you mentioned several receivers. Yeah, I would go with Dowdle, because with Jerry Jeudy, it looks like he's being replaced. Calvin Ridley, I firmly believe, is a flash in a pan. Plus, if they go back to Will Levis, I wouldn't. And then with Keon Coleman, I still think you don't really know what you're getting. Amari Cooper is going to be the number 1 guy. The only guy who's really, Ridley is the number 1 guy. You got so many question marks, and he was so unproductive except for that flash in the pan game. I would go with Dowdle. He's the starter, and he's the 3-down back. So yeah, I would go with Dowdle. Especially if he's a 4 option, not a solid option. Yeah, I like that. And the best part is you still have an option to trade Dowdle, especially if he has a good game against Atlanta, and I think he could. Patrick, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, quarterback Dak, nice. Dak and Kirk, very nice options. That's a tough one. That is a tough one. I wouldn't know. Nice matchup. They play against each other too. So it's kind of fun, because ideally, I don't know what your situation is, but ideally you're watching that game and the guy you pick lights it up. Let's take a look at the rest. Gibbs, Pollard, Javonte, Brown, Irving are your receivers. Some interesting options. A.J. Brown, nice. Waddle, Higgins, Tillman, Juju, tight ends, Laporta. I don't know why this didn't send, but would you do any of these trade Tillman and Irvin for J.K. Dobbins? Ooh, okay. So number 1, as much as I love J.K. Dobbins, I'm assuming you're in a PPR league. Okay, first of all, Tillman and Irving for J.K. Dobbins. If you're in a PPR league, I would recommend against it. If you're in a standard league, which more leagues are PPRs become the standard, Dobbins has a lot more value, and I would make that move, possibly. Chase Brown or Irving for Amari Cooper or Downs. That's another tough one. And then trade Waddle and Javonte for Olave. Okay, so Waddle and Javonte for Olave. Let me start with that one. That's a no. I know Olave's value is just going to go up. I firmly believe that. I have a major man crush on Javonte Williams, and his potential is off the charts. And one thing about the Denver Broncos, if you've been watching out, they've been getting much better offensively. The defense is also solid, so a 3-down back with some size. Javonte has a lot of upside. Waddle has a lot of upside. Olave has a lot of upside, but you see what I'm getting, 2-for-1 trade. I'm not a fan of that at all. Trade Chase Brown or Irving. It's a tough one to figure out which one is going to be better, Brown or Irving. I think Amari Cooper is going to be the number 1 guy. Downs has value. He's not really the number 1 guy, but he does get more targets. Again, if you're in a PPR league, Downs would probably have a little more value. They like to use him like an 8-catch, 70-yard type of guy. Cooper's more likely to get touchdowns. I don't like trading a 3-down back, and I'm assuming again. I'm assuming it's a PPR. So Chase Brown and or Irving, these are 3-down backs. Both these guys got home run speed, but you're also splitting carries. Um, but I see what you're doing here. You got 5 running backs, some interesting options, and you want to upgrade your receiver position. You have some interesting options with Tillman and Higgins. Juju may or may not play, so you're needing to get some stability at the receiver position. Okay. Number one trade, you don't want to get rid of Tillman because right now Tillman's the only guy who I'm sorry, I'm AJ Brown. Okay. Got AJ Brown. Tillman's the only other guy that's like a number one on your team. You're rolling the dice here a little bit, but you have AJ Brown. So I get it. Running backs, you got 5 guys. That's why you're trying to get Olave. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. All right. Trade number 1. I would no. Trade number 3, no. Now, trade number 2 is an option here. Trade Brown or Irving for Amari Cooper. In your situation, Cooper Downs would be interesting. Can I throw this out there? Because I like the idea of trading for Olave, who's going to have some upside, but I don't like the idea of you can go Waddle for Olave. Let me ask you this: with trade number 3, can you change that so you're not giving up Javonte, or is there a possibility? Just throwing this out there, is there a possibility you can go Waddle for Olave? If these are your 3 trade options, number 2 is the one I would look at the most. I like Dobbins quite a bit, but I don't want to give up Tillman. With trade number 3, I don't want to give up Javonte. Now, with trade number 2, I like that because you're doing a 1-for-1 trade. And it looks like you're trading for a receiver that you can actually, start potentially. Keep in mind, the way your roster's set up, I would go with A.J. Brown and I would go with Tillman. And then you have Higgins and Juju, which are Waddle, Higgins, and Juju, which are excellent options. I understand the Olave trade. I don't want you to trade Javonte because you got some options here. I mean, I'm going to level with you. I'm going to level with you. I mean, I get what you're doing. I almost want you just to leave this alone. And the reason why I say that is that with Higgins, Juju, and Waddle, you have some massive upside and you have some steady production in A.J. Brown. By the way, A.J. Brown could have a massive game. Tillman could have a good game. Tough matchup. Dak and Kirk are really good options. It's like this. Kirk has a better matchup. I think Dak's a better player. I would lean towards Dak, but if you decide that you want to go with Kirk, I would not blame you one bit. Gibbs could have a monster game. If Love starts, I would start Gibbs. Pollard's going against a tough defense, but he's talented. I said this last week and it bit me in the ass, but Javonte Williams could have a monster game. Probably getting 20 touches. Ravens defense is not good. You don't want to start him. I don't blame you. Chase Brown against a Raiders defense is interesting, but they like him more than they like Zach Moss for whatever reason. Bucky Irving is a tough matchup this week, but I love his upside. Look, Patrick, I'm going to level with you, man. I would not mess with your roster as far as trades are concerned, because the only trade I could really see that I like is a 3-down running back, which has much more value in a PPR league than Cooper or Downs. You could be getting rid of a guy that's going to get you 20 points for a guy that's going to get you 12. And to be honest with you, is Amari Cooper or Downs really a better option than A.J. Brown and Tillman? You don't know that. And with Waddle, Higgins, and Juju, you have some massive upside. If I'm you, Patrick, I would stand pat and try to figure out who you're going to start this week. I would go with Dak, but honestly, Dak and Kirk's a coin flip. I like Dak personally, but that's up to you. If Jordan Love plays, I would go with Gibbs. If it's Malik Willis, I would put Gibbs on the bench. I would start Javonte, even though he bit me in the ass last week. I think Pollard, even though it's a tough matchup, and I've recommended against it to some other people, they don't have much else in Tennessee, and Pollard's a good player. Chase Brown's interesting, and Irving's interesting. Out of those two, I'd lean towards Chase Brown if you don't play Gibbs. And then your starters are A.J. Brown and Tillman. With Waddle, Higgins, and Juju, I would just hold off and see if you can make a better trade. The only trade option I would even consider would be the second one. Would you can throw this out there? Can you do Waddle for Olave straight up? So. Do I like Knicks or Winston this week? Oh, God, that's a great question, Jeff. That is a fantastic question because here's the drill. I would actually, out of these two, I would go with Knicks. I think you have some massive upside. I'm not buying Baltimore's defense. I know the Broncos do have a good defense, but I promise you, my play of the week as far as betting, I haven't made the bet yet. It's been kind of a crazy week, but I love the over for Baltimore and Denver. I love the over. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in that game. Right now it's 45.5. So I like the over on that game. I think Knicks is going to have a good game. I really do. With Winston, you're going against a tough defense. You also have Nick Chubb getting a little more involved. The Chargers' offense has been kind of stagnant, believe it or not. Browns have a really good defense. I think this is a low-scoring game. So in fantasy football, if I have a low-scoring game and a high-scoring game, I want to go with the quarterback that I think is going to be in a higher-scoring game. And I'm not buying Baltimore's defense. I'm just not. I really think Bo Nix could have a monster game. Winston's always been an up and down guy. I'm going to level with you. Talent-wise, Winston's a more talented player. He probably has better weapons. I like the Chargers defense more than I like the Ravens defense, which at the beginning of the year I would like. That's insane to say, but it's how I feel now. So let me know what you do, man. That's a great Jeff. By the way, thanks for the question. That's a good one. Which players do you think will go crazy this week? That is a fantastic question. Hopefully, everybody on my Chiefs. I don't know. IDK. Thank you so much for joining, man. It's always good to see you. Always good to see you. Players that could go crazy this week. That is a really, really, really good one. I kind of like Justin Jefferson this week. You're a primetime game coming off of a loss 10 days against a bad defense. I could look at everybody on the Vikings, Jefferson, Addison, Darnold, Aaron Jones. I think all those guys could potentially have a big game. I like Stafford this week against the Seattle defense. I'm not sold on him. If Jordan Love is playing for Green Bay, I think that Gibbs, Amon-Ra, and Goff could potentially have monster games. Saquon Barkley against a very bad Jags defense. I like the matchup. I like the fact that you're at home. I like that. I have a sneaky feeling Bo Nix, Javonte Williams could have good games. I'll give you a player that not a lot of people think. I mean, he's a starter, but he could have a monster game. Is Malik Neighbors against Washington? Josh Allen could have a monster game against Miami. He usually does really well. Josh Allen against Miami is a guy that just could explode. Just could explode. So yeah, that's a great question. Guys, I am going to take a very fast commercial break, but when I come back, every single question is going to be answered. 100% doing it. So stay tuned, but I'm going to take a quick commercial break. I'll be right back with the third hour of Afternoon Delight. So stay tuned. As Afternoon Delight is on a commercial break, we want to remind you that BetUS is a proud affiliate of Dan Talks Football. I made my first $100 deposit and it was fast and easy, but check it out for yourself. The video is in the description below. Check out BetUS and start winning today. The award-winning NFL Week 9 picks video is out. Make sure you check it out. Not now, we're on commercial break, but after the show's over, check it out. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to give me the thumbs up and ring the bell so you don't miss out on upcoming great videos and live streams. Now back to some more Afternoon Delight. All right. Thank you so much. I can't thank you guys enough for the comments. This is just fantastic. Let me see here where I was at. Answered this one. Fletcher Cox. I have a Hall of Fame defensive lineman joining me, so that is awesome. I am trying to offer Kelsey and Ramondre for Otten and Pollard. That's actually not bad. He wants to do Otten and Dobbs for Kelsey. All right. So you okay? I think this is smart. I think this is really smart. And by the way, like as far as players are concerned, I like Ramondre Stevenson more, and I like Pollard in fantasy football. I like Pollard a lot more. I like this move. I would accept this. I would. Keep in mind, I don't know the rest of your roster, but I would try to flip Dobbs for something else because, I mean, you have some wild inconsistency there, but I like this move. I wouldn't, by the way, I'm not saying I would pull this week. Here's what you could do. Let me throw this out there. If you can't make the move this week, I think Kelsey's going to have a good game. One thing about Tampa Bay is they really struggle against the middle of the field. You have some issues there. I think Kelsey will have a better game. I think Otten will have a better rest of the season. You may want to hold off till after Monday Night Football, and Kelsey's value is just going to go up. And then you could go ahead and make this move afterwards. Keep in mind, if you Ramondre Stevenson could have a big game against Tennessee. I have no idea what to expect from Tennessee after losing by 1,000, being facetious. But I had Perry, he was in the chat earlier. He said that Tennessee just looks like they gave up. And if that's the case, you could have better games from Kelsey and Ramondre this week make the trade for Otton and Pollard after this week. And then what you're doing is you're selling high, where Otton and Pollard are more productive going forward. Let me know that Fletcher, please. I love the name. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, let me know what you do. Two-man flex, who would you start? Cook, Devontae, Monty, Terry, Olave. When you say Cook, I'm assuming James Cook. If you're talking Dalvin Cook for the Cowboys, that's different, but I'm assuming James Cook. 3-down running backs are always better than honestly, 3-down running backs are always better than receivers. Now with Montgomery, I think his value goes up quite a bit if it's Malik Willis starting versus Jordan Love, because I think in that case, Detroit gets up, used a more bigger physical running back. But I mean, the 3-down running backs are always better. Keep in mind, I could see a situation where Olave and Terry McLaurin have big games. So I'm just saying that out of those guys, Devontae would be number 5. He'd be the last one I start. And the reason why I say that is that there's a good chance Philly could just be blowing out a bad Jacksonville team. They beat Cincinnati by 20, and I think Cincinnati's better than Jacksonville. That's why I would lean against Devontae, because in that type of situation, they may be like, seriously, we could see some backups in the game in the fourth quarter. I'm not exaggerating, even though Jacksonville has some weapons on offense. Always do 3-down running backs. I'm assuming PPR league. And you got 2 good ones. If it's James Cook, not Dalvin Cook. Now Dalvin Cook, let's move forward. If it's Dalvin Cook, no, let's go with Montgomery, and then look at Terry or Olave. I think both those guys could have big games, Terry and I think Olave could have a monster game against Carolina, especially if Derek Carr's coming back. But running backs over receivers. Yeah, I get that, and it sounds like you're in a league where it's just it's a tough one. Sometimes you gotta overpay for trades, but if I remember, hold on here, Derek. I'm sorry here, because I remember your. Yeah, this is a lot, but if I remember correctly, your roster is really solid, though. I mean, you're in good shape. If I remember right, didn't you say you were 5-3? Yeah. Yeah, I really just don't like these receivers. I would do that. I really would. And here's the thing, you can make the offer, right? This is a little negotiation tactics, especially when you got people asking too much, is that usually when people ask too much, is because they're hoping you do this, but they'll settle for this. You ever bought a car? I don't know how old you are, but like sticker price is $20,000. You go into the dealership, no, $20,000. Rare today, but just have some fun with me. Sticker price is $20,000, and the dealership is hoping you'll pay 20, but the reality is that they're willing to sell it to you for 18. That's what people usually do. Now, same type of situation, you're going to ask for more, but you'll settle for less. I mean, the dealership will definitely sell you the car for 20,000, but they'll take 18. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it. So let me know what happens, Derek. Don't be afraid to walk away and just say, "No, I'm good," and then hold off. Maybe they'll come back to you. Never know. In a league where people are asking too much, you have to understand something. The guy that you're making a trade for, I don't know who his quarterback is, but Josh Allen is a legitimate NFL MVP candidate. He's the guy that, what was it last year, 15 rushing touchdowns or something ridiculous. I would also throw, I don't know your relationship with the guy, but I would throw out there, hey, this is my starting quarterback. I have to go with my backup Dak. He's going against a tough Falcons defense. I don't know if I want to make this trade. See if something like that works. Let me know what happens, brother. Asian Sum, a 4-keeper. Oh, it's a 4-keeper half PPR league. I would be trading Kareem Hunt for ETN and a second-round pick next year. My keepers right now, Tyreek Vichan, 4th is up in the air. Okay. Hold on. You get a second-round pick in return by trading Kareem Hunt for ETN. I want to make sure I have this right because this sounds like a steal. Kareem Hunt for ETN and a second-round pick? Make that move immediately because Kareem Hunt is here's the deal. Kareem Hunt's not going to be in Kansas City next year. More than likely, when Pacheco comes back, he's going to kind of go down. Now, maybe he signs for minimum value, but he's probably not going to be the starter. You get a second-round pick in next year's draft, keep that. Tyreek and A-Chain are interesting. Brian Thomas Jr. is a no-brainer. I'm assuming it's 4th round pick. Hopefully, it's not the 4th overall pick. Oh, okay, your 4th. You're trying to figure out who to keep in your 4th. Okay, I gotcha. Because 4 keepers pretty solid, and I don't blame you for A-Chain and Brian Thomas Jr. Tyreek Hill, it's kind of a weird situation in Miami, but I like what you're thinking. If you can get ETN and a second-round pick, do that immediately, my friend. Stay in touch with me because I don't recognize the name, but stay in touch with me. Let me know what you do. If I made that trade, my offense would be Daniels. Okay. I'm sorry. The Daniels threw me off. Connor, St. Brown, Chubb, Metcalf. Okay, so just full disclosure with Connor, he doesn't catch the ball a lot, and I was expecting them to kind of work in Benson a little more, but it hasn't worked out that way. I think sooner or later you're going to see more Trey Benson instead of Connor, but I mean Daniels. The front seven's good, the secondary's bad. Tough matchup against the Chargers. Amon-Ra St. Brown is such a good player. Good player and fantastic in fantasy, and with Metcalf, that's solid. Who's your tight end though? Because if you made the trade, you would be losing Kelsey, correct? I get that right, Tim. Yeah, who's your tight end? That's the only issue. I just need to know. Yeah. James Cook. Yeah, absolutely. I'm starting Commander. I tag. Welcome to chat, brother. So good to see you again, man. I'm starting the Commanders defense over the Broncos. Good, or should I look for another D? I'll be honest with you. I'm not sold on Washington's defense, but I like them against New York this week. Number one, you have a banged up Giants team that played on Monday night against a physical Steelers team. Yeah. Denver, a lot of weeks, I would say, is a good week to start. But I've said this several times. You have the number 1 and the number 2 NFL MVP candidates in the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, I don't know if you heard this or not, but I've said this a couple times, and also said it on my video. So please, if you haven't already, please check it out. My weekly picks video, it's in the description below. The Baltimore Ravens right now, and I want to pull it up so I give you an exact number, are second in the NFL in scoring offense, averaging 30.3 points a game. That's a good number. 30.3, that's a good number. So, yeah, I would start the Commanders over the Broncos. It's kind of rare that you have 2 defenses. Not unheard of. I mean, not like super unheard of, but it's a little unusual. These are solid options. Do I want to start the defense against an offense that's coming off of a loss playing at home that's averaging 30 points a game? No, I don't. I actually have that as my game of the week to bet on. I like the over, and the over is 45.5. And the reason why is that Baltimore traditionally has a good defense. They don't this year. Denver's defense is good. The offense has been bad, but the offense if you've been watching Denver, the offense gets better every week. I think there's going to be at least 50 points in this game. 31-21 is not out of question. Do I like the Commanders' defense overall? No. I think they need some help, but you're playing against a team whose best player was Andrew Thomas. He's out. He's not going to play. You played a tough physical team in Pittsburgh on Monday night. Yeah, go with the Commanders. You're going to get, listen, you're going to get some sacks, possibly a turnover or two. Yeah, I think you're in good shape, brother. I would pick up J.K. Dobbins immediately. Now, the reason why he was probably dropped is that you're going against a very tough Browns defense. And Dobbins, you're in a PPR league, if I remember correctly. Dobbins does not catch the ball a lot. Neither does Connor. But Dobbins could. I seriously think if he plays in all 17 games, I think he could win the rushing title. I think he's that good. Out of those two running backs, I think Connor's touches will start to go down. Trey Benson, the third-round pick out of Florida State, a kid I absolutely loved. Yeah. I would pick up Dobbins. Do you have to drop anybody? But pick up Dobbins if you have a spot available. Let me know. Oh, yeah. I mean, oh God, yeah, Patrick. Okay, yeah, and that's why your receivers. Yeah, that's a tough one, man. A good job. By the way, very good job picking up Juju and Tillman. Excellent job. Excellent job. And by the way, you still have some opportunities in your league to make some trades. I just didn't really like any of them unless you want to move Waddle for Olave. And honestly, that's not as insane as you may think. Keep in mind, I don't know your league, but you never know. The guy that has Olave may be really frustrated. He thought he was getting a guy that was going to have much more upside and potential. He may be frustrated, and he may go, maybe he's a Tua fan. That would be the only thing, and it wasn't one of the options. But yeah, Patrick, stay in touch with me, brother, and I hope to hear from. I won't be on next week, unfortunately, but if you follow me on social media, stay in touch with me, and hopefully next time I hear from you, you're 8-1 or 9-1. All right, somebody's putting some commercials in my comments. Not a fan of that. Hold on real fast. I wonder if I can remove these here. Really don't like this. All right. One of the things about doing Twitch is that I'm kind of new to the Twitch thing, but somebody spammed me here. Not a fan of that. Sorry, Dave, man. Dave, is so good to see you, brother. Javante Kraft, Ingram in the flex. I told you this last week, and it. Listen, I told you this last week, and a bitch in the butt. I know this. A 3-down running back over a tight end. Look, I know it didn't work, but in my defense, he did over 20 touches. Okay. The Baltimore Ravens defense is not good, but their offense is good. So Javonte Williams is going to get over 15 touches. I don't care who starts at quarterback for the Packers. Kraft's not getting 15 catches. And if Willis is starting, you have to roll out Kraft completely. Ingram's interesting because I could see Philly in a situation where they could be blowing out Jacksonville, and then Jacksonville just throws the ball and just abandons run. And in that situation, Ingram could have a monster game. And keep in mind, I do like Kraft with Love against the Lions. So you have three good options. I'm going to say it again. I know it bit me last week, and I know you didn't like it, but I do want to emphasize this with Javonte Williams. I mean, I can't say this enough, is that even though it didn't work out, he did have 21 touches. All right. The week before against the Saints, it was 17 touches, 2 touchdowns, and 111 yards. Last week, unfortunately, 52 yards on 21 touches. His rushing this year, I know last week he had 2.6 yards a carry, but against the Saints, 6.3. Chargers, another good defense, 3.8. Raiders, another good defense, 4.7. 13 carries, 61 yards. Also had 5 receptions for 50 yards in that game. Jets, not a good rushing defense this year, traditionally, at least the last couple of years. 16 carries, 77 yards, 4.8 yards a carry. Now, I'm not really sure what happened. I think in Chargers game he got hurt, but look, the last 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks. Now the Panthers have a bad defense. Saints have a good defense. Saints he did really, really well against. Panthers he didn't, but 17 touches, 21 touches. I know the only game he scored was against the Saints, but he's a big back. I know it didn't work out last week, and I know you don't like me, and I'm pretty sure you're sitting here going, Dan, not again. Listen, Javonte Williams is going to have 15 touches against a bad defense. You know Kraft and Ingram are not going to get that. I would go Ingram over Kraft, mainly because you don't know the quarterback situation. But I would go Javonte. And hopefully this week it works out for you, brother. Dave, let me know what you do, brother. KJ Frederick, what is up, brother? He says, what's up, Dan? Better flex start. McMillan, Zach Moss, Javonte Williams, Deontay Johnson, full PPR. Okay, so in a full PPR, I always love running backs over receivers. Deontay Johnson, I would just completely, you have no idea what he's going to do. I think he'll catch 1 or 2 passes, definitely try to get you involved. But I mean, look, you just arrived on the team. I really don't expect much. I really don't. McMillan's going against a tough Chiefs defense on Monday night. It's always fun to play a team on Monday night. Personal opinion only. But you have a huge unknown. I always like a 3-down back. Moss is interesting. They like Brown more than they like Moss. I like Moss more than I like Brown. And I'll be honest with you, I like Moss sneaky, like low-end option this week because you have a tough Raiders pass rush with Zach Crosby. Moss is better pass protector. This may be the week that he gets more carries than Chase Brown. Keep in mind, Chase Brown had more touches last week. You're down by 20. I expect them to be up, go with the bigger back. Moss has more value this week than he did last week. Bottom line, anytime Cincinnati's winning, I like Moss a little more. You don't have to play from behind. I don't have a lot of faith in the Raiders right now. Javonte Williams is a 3-down back with some size and speed going against a bad Ravens defense that's going to score a lot of points. I like Javonte Williams a lot. Of course, I thought last week he was a must start. He had 21 touches and got no touchdowns and barely 50 yards. Last week in a full PPR, because he did have 4 catches for 8 yards, more than likely half point. I mean, if it's full point per reception, he got you maybe 10, more than likely half points. We probably only got you 8 last week. I really like Javonte Williams. I really think he's guaranteed to get 15 touches, which is more than Moss. Deontay Johnson probably won't get 5. McMillan, you have an unknown. I mean, a huge unknown. You do have the advantage of Monday night. I would go with a running back. I would lean towards Williams. If you went Moss this week, I would not blame you. And bottom line, look, if you want to roll the dice and see what McMillan can do against the Chiefs, go for it. But I mean, you have such an unknown. I wouldn't even consider any one of the receivers. I would go with Moss or Williams, and I like Williams more. I think he's going to get the most touches. The matchup favors them the best. But let me know what you do, KJ. Hopefully I hear from you again. These are players I like, but I don't think they're better. To be honest with you, I'm really high on Javonte Williams. I really like this kid, and I like him. I like his matchup a lot better. If you have a roster spot available, I don't know if Juju's going to play, but I may want to consider picking up Juju, because I do know that when he does get back into the lineup, he's going to be productive. Not every game, but he has these stretches where he has 8 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. If you have a roster spot available, pick up Juju. He may not even play on Monday night, but you may want to snag him. If you have a spot available, don't drop anybody. And I would start Williams over any of these guys and any of these guys. KJ, let me know what you do, and I hope to hear back from you. The Smitty! Welcome back, brother, man. Start Tank Dell or Khalil Shakir. I like Dell this week. I do like Dell. Look, I mean, you're out Collins, you're out Diggs. I know that the Jets are favored a lot. By the way, I don't know if you do any sports betting or not, but the Jets are favored, and more people are putting their money on the Jets. I actually thought it'd be just the opposite. I actually was expecting more people to bet on Houston, but I think a lot of people believe that the Jets are going to win this game. If that's the case, who's now your number one receiver? It's going to be Tank Dell. I think Jordan Schultz could have a huge game as well, but I would go Dell this week. I think Amari Cooper is going to take over as the number one receiver, but I expect Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, and Shakir to possibly have more touches, but I would go Dell. Let me know what you do, and do stay in touch with me. I won't be on next week. I have a kind of a unusual situation coming up, but stay in touch with me and let me know what you do. Jaden Reed or Cooper Kupp this week. Okay, so number one, if Malik Willis plays, you 100% have to go Cooper Kupp. That's not even in question. I personally would go Cooper Kupp anyway. I've been adamant that I'm not sold on the Detroit Lions defense. And I'm still not, but I don't like Seattle's defense. I really don't. So I think the matchup favors Cooper Kupp. And then with Jaden Reed, not only do you have a questionable quarterback situation, you have no idea what he's going to do, not do. Don't get me wrong, Reed could have 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, and you're like, Dan, I told you. But Cooper Kupp could easily have 10 catches, 100 yards, and a pair of touchdowns himself. And so you have the matchup, better quarterback situation. You have more upside with Reed, no lie, but yeah. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Tillman, Reed, or Kupp this week. Okay. I still like Kupp. Keep in mind, Tillman's quickly becoming the number one guy in Cleveland, and over the last 2 weeks, he's been that guy. Again, you have no idea what to expect, and you also have a tough defense in the Chargers. I think Kupp basically has the highest floor, and I think he has also the highest ceiling. I still would go with Kupp, but I tag these are some good options. Let me know what you do. J.K. Dobbins my only option to draw. Oh no. No. Do not drop J.K. Dobbins. Actually, let me know. Are you starting Dobbins? It's a tough matchup against the Browns. Andre, welcome, brother. So glad to see you, man. Update on Pacheco. Well, he's obviously not going to play. I follow him on social media. He's working on the treadmill. He's probably another couple weeks away. If you're banking on him for fantasy, if I remember correctly, didn't you tell me that your playoffs start week 15? If that's the case, a couple weeks before the playoffs, I expect him, but he's definitely not playing this week. He's still a couple weeks away. Following him on social media, he's running on the treadmill, and he looks like he's in good spirits. I mean, keep in mind he's a professional athlete, so he looks good, but it's hard to say what kind of shape he's in. I think that in a couple of weeks he's going to be good to go, but I'm not really sure how he's going to be integrated into the offense. Not an option this week, probably not an option next week as well, but I think 3 weeks from now we could be thinking about him. But no official word from the Chiefs. I'm just going by I saw him on social media running on the treadmill, and he's like, he's feeling good. So that should be a good sign for you. All right, I-Tag, thank you. Jay, what's up, my brother? Tank, Dell, Jacoby Myers, and Tillman pick 2. Oh, Dell and Tillman. Yeah. I would go Dell and I'd go Tillman. Now I want to be very clear. Cincinnati gave up 37 to Philly. I like their defense, and I like for them to shut the Raiders down this week. That's why I think that this has low scoring game written all over it. Jets defense has not been playing well. Myself and a lot of people think that the Jets are going to win, but this is projected to be a low scoring game. I like the over in this game. I think this could be a potential shootout. If the Jets put up some points against a good Texans defense, Tank Dell has to have some touches. Right now, the line's gone from 1 to 2. Now, I don't know if you're doing sports betting or not, but this is kind of a significant jump. A lot of people like the Jets. If Houston comes out and they get a 14, 21 point lead, Mixon's going to have a massive game. Tank Dell's going to do nothing. If this is a close game or the betting public is correct and think the Jets are going to win, Dell has to get involved in the offense. Chargers have a good defense, but Tillman looks like a number one. All three of these guys are technically number one receivers, which is kind of weird. I would go at Tillman and I would go at Dell. I actually don't think it's too much of a decision. I'm not ranting and raving over this too much. I kind of like Tillman and I like Dell. Let me know what you do, brother, and stay in touch with me. I won't be on next week, but stay in touch with me. Let me know how you do. I'll be on for the next 2 days, and I'll be live for Monday Night Football, Chiefs, Bucks. I'll be live for Monday night. Would you drop Jawan Jennings for Leggett now that he's the number one with Johnson getting traded? I will be getting Debo in that trade we talked about yesterday. Absolutely. I would. I mean, congratulations on getting Debo. I remember that. I vaguely remember the trade. I remember Debo as part of it. I remember I liked it. If you have the ability, put what your team is now, if you don't mind. It's your option. Jennings for Leggett's a no-brainer. And by the way, I mean, look, you have Bryce Young, a young quarterback, and then you have a team that's bad. You have Leggett, a guy, I don't know if you remember his story, but he's a dude over 220. Looks like a running back. Ran, I think it was like a 4.38, 4.39 at the combine. Carolina traded the flip-flop picks with the Bills to get back into the first round. So they wanted that fifth-year option because they see a lot of upside with Leggett. You can argue Carolina's a bad organization and all that, all you want. I'd listen to it, but I had Leggett rated higher than Keon Coleman, definitely. And I thought it was a smart move by Carolina because this is a guy with massive, massive upside. Now, keep in mind, the Panthers, when they made this move, they were like, okay, we got Deontay Johnson, we got Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen got hurt early in the year. Bryce Young hasn't been productive in this offense as of yet, but he did show improvement. So you have an improving young quarterback with ability. He's got no other options. Why not throw Leggett? Seriously, if you're Bryce Young, what do you have to lose? I mean, what are you going to do? Throw an interception and get benched? Yeah. Leggett has a chance to be a really good low-end number one. Jawan Jennings will have that flash-in-the-pan game, but, I mean, yeah. And by the way, Debo, when he comes back, will be in a good move. Should I start Leggett over Addison? With all that being said, that's a tough decision. I would not. The reason. Okay, so let me argue why you should. First of all, okay, why you should. He's the number one option. You have very little to lose. You're playing against a tough Saints team. Remember, Saints put up, 51-10, 41-10 earlier in the season. You got to put up some points. Leggett could easily get 10 to 15 targets in this game. Madison's the number two, always going to be number two. Leggett's a one. That's why you should. Okay? Let me argue against it. Colts defense is bad. All right. The Saints defense is pretty good. Now, the Saints have had some injuries both sides of the ball, but let's be honest. The Saints defense is still pretty solid. I mean, the Saints defense is unquestionably better than the Colts defense. Sam Darnold is a better quarterback than Bryce Young today, right now. Addison is going against a bad defense with a better quarterback, a better offensive mind, and you're at home. I really, really like it. I really like Addison this week. I think that he could have a big game. I would not blame you if you decide to go with Leggett. I can make a strong argument that you should go with Leggett, but I like the matchup. I like the offense. I like the quarterback better. And I'll say this, like, I think Addison, believe it or not, even though Addison's a 2 and Leggett's a 1, I think Addison's floor is much higher. Now, if you want to roll the dice, because there is more upside with Leggett, I wouldn't blame you one bit. Hey, Balance 18, welcome back, brother. Do I trade Jonathan Brooks and Murray for CeeDee Lamb? That's, wow. I have Josh Allen as my quarterback and Hall Bajan as my running backs. So, I would do this. Absolutely, I would. All right, so I'm gonna just run this back a little bit. Kyler Murray, unlimited potential, more than likely the person. Are you offering this trade, or was this offered to you? The way this looks is that somebody offered you this trade, and more than likely, what they're thinking is that, hey, I need a quarterback. And Jonathan Brooks, by the way, does have unlimited potential. Like he really does. I mean, there's no question that there is a possibility that Jonathan Brooks gets into the game, and you're thinking to yourself, you traded away one of the best players in fantasy football. That's definitely a possibility. I like Josh Allen more than I like Kyler Murray. Keep in mind Murray's upside is immense, but his production isn't there. So he's sitting on your bench. CeeDee Lamb, in my opinion, is the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy football. I'm assuming you're in a PPR league. I'm almost convinced you're in a PPR league because I recognize the name. I'm almost convinced. This to me is a no-brainer. I absolutely make this move. You have 2 bench players, and with Brooks, you have no idea. You have known quantities in Bijan Robinson and Breece Hall. I mean, Bijan Robinson's been really solid over the last several weeks. And by the way, he could just be better. And Breece Hall is, believe it or not, he's the leading receiver for the Jets. He could have a monster game this week. You have 2 really good running backs. And Jonathan Brooks, you have a guy who's not played a down in the NFL. And you can get the best receiver in fantasy football, in my opinion. Abe Owens, please make this move. Let me know what you do. I say this all the time. I'd rather you not take my advice and win than take my advice and lose. But I would make this move, and I would make this move, and you start CeeDee Lamb, and you're starting Josh Allen, and I hope to hear back from you Friday. Hopefully, Breece Hall has some good points, and you're in good shape. Let me know what you do, man. If you decide not to pull the trigger and you want to hold on to Jonathan Brooks, because I'm excited if Jonathan Brooks plays, and there's no guarantee he's going to play. But when he does play, I'm excited to watch it, and I'm going to be paying attention. But I would make this move in a heartbeat. Please let me know what you do. Yeah. Austin's right. He's right at balance. He's talking about this, and yeah. Tyler, what's up, brother? Start Dell, Reed, Coleman, Downs, pick 2. I can also grab Leggett. Wow, you got some good options. I'll be honest with you. If you have the ability to grab Leggett, I would do it. I think his upside is immense. And here's the deal: Leggett is until I can't believe I forgot his name. I was literally just talking about until Nico Collins comes back. Dell is the number 1, but I mean, Leggett's a number 1. The rest of these guys, Reed, you never know what you're going to get. Technically, Pittman's the number 1 guy, but Downs in fantasy football is going to have more value. As of the last 2 weeks, Coleman is the. Hold on. I think I'm jumping ahead here. I am. It was funny. We were talking a lot. By the way, JOK's out for Cleveland. All right, so I don't know why I had this. People were talking about Tillman. I got stuck. I got the two names mixed up. I have no idea why I did that. I'm embarrassed, Tyler. So all right, Keon Coleman and Reed. You have some question marks about. Matchup against Miami's interesting, but I think Amari Cooper is going to be the one. This week, I would go with Downs. I also like the idea of playing the guy on Sunday night or Monday. The later, the better. As far as Dell, I think this week is a good week for him. And keep in mind, if the Jets do what most people think, and that they're in position to win this game, Dell could have a monster game. I like Leggett quite a bit. The most targets levered has is 11 versus. Not sure. So here's let me one thing about the Saints is that they do play a lot of man traditionally, but they're not a exclusive man. Very few NFL teams play exclusive man, and they're going to get a little creative with Leggett. I mean, he's two. I think at the combine he was like 221. He looks like a running back. They'll use him on end arounds. They'll use him on like bubble screens. It's not going to be a situation where Leggett's going to follow him every single play. And they'll use some two tight end sets. They'll do some other things. So he'll get targets. I apologize because I think I know what you're trying to say, but I don't. Oh, you're talking about Leggett. So here's the deal. I mean, like the Saints will play a lot of zone. I mean, that's a lot of man. I'm sorry, Dennis Allen likes doing that, but the Saints aren't playing 100%. It's not like Lattimore's going to lock on Leggett the whole game. It's not going to be like that. It's really not. And they hopefully I say hopefully, but you don't know what Carolina's going to do. Hopefully Carolina's smart enough to make some moves like bubble screens. They may even put them in the backfield and kind of like Deebo Samuel, because that's who he reminds me of. Not because they both went to USC, University of South Carolina, not Southern Cal, but in South Carolina they call South Carolina USC. You probably don't think of South Carolina as USC, but in South Carolina they do. But no, he'll get some touches. But I would go Dell and Downs, and he has. Pittman's the number one, and he's the best player. He really is. And he also got that extension, that 3-year, $75 million extension. Downs is on still a second-year rookie contract, but Flacco likes throwing to Downs more. Pittman's much more likely to score. Downs will get more catches. I saw this, but it doesn't mean he's going to play. He's not like he may not play, but he is a full participant in practice, and it's something I've been paying attention to. But Tyler, hopefully I answered your question. I would go with Dell and Downs. I would grab Leggett, and honestly, if you have a spot, but also with Reed and Coleman, you do have some potential here. But I think you have a lot of variance. I think with Dell and Downs, you have some stability, and I do like Leggett quite a bit. You do not. I get that. But yeah. And I apologize. I'm not 100% sure what you're trying to say there. Chat, help me. I need 2 running backs. I have Connor Hall, Mixon, Aaron Jones pick 2. Okay. First of all, I love Aaron Jones. You're going against a very bad Colts defense, so I like Aaron Jones. Connor against a Bears defense, I would rule out completely. You just have to figure out Hall or Mixon. I would lean towards Hall, but I wouldn't blame you if you did Mixon. We'll see what the chat has to say. But for me, Aaron Jones is a no-brainer in this situation. You have to figure out Hall or Mixon. Both of them play on Thursday, so we'll find out. But I would lean towards Breece Hall, who's in a PPR league, has a lot more value than Mixon. So yeah, I don't think he will. Aiden, what's up, brother? How would you rank Olave, Devontae Smith, and ETN the rest of the season? I would rank Olave number 1. He's going to be the number 1 guy. I'm also assuming Derek Carr is coming back, and he's going to really. Oh yeah, okay. No, I don't think he will. That's what you're saying. Okay. And I think he's going to be the number 1 guy. I mean, they don't, Rashad Shaheed's out for the rest of the year. He's a home run threat. He's an excellent route runner. He's got good hands. So I would go Olave. ETN's banged up, but in a PPR league, he's still 3 down back with some home run speed. Devontae Smith, keep in mind, I'm kind of focusing that there's a lot of other weapons. You got Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown's back, Dallas Goedert. They also signed Jahar Dotson from Washington. They actually traded for Jahar Dotson, and he hasn't been playing much. He's been disappointing Washington, not doing much. But there is a reason why they wanted another receiver, and I'm kind of thinking that Devontae Smith, they're not banking on him being like a 1-2. They think of him as more like a 2-3 type. So as much as I love Devontae Smith, he would be number 3. Keep in mind, ETN's health is a big question. Devontae Smith isn't. But I like Olave quite a bit. So Mixon and Hall, in my opinion, flex Jones if you can. The one thing I'm going to say, like, that's a great idea. Can you flex one of these guys? Because Hall, Mixon, and Aaron Jones, if you can play all 3, I would do that. I like Aaron Jones against a bad Colts defense. Keep in mind, 10 days rest. He played on Thursday. He's playing at home on Sunday night. And against a bad Colts defense, I like it. Well, I mean, he plays corner. I'm not trying to be a jerk here. I apologize, but no. Marshawn Lattimore is one of the best corners in football. Love him. I get it. It's just that the Saints defense doesn't play they're not putting Lattimore on Leggett the whole game. Like that's not their game plan, and they don't play exclusive man. Saints do have a really good defense, though. I mean, that's kind of why, even if you pick Leggett up, I wouldn't say guaranteed, but I mean, he has a lot of potential. I still would go with the other 2 guys. If I remember correctly, I would still go with Downs and Dell. By the way, Tyler, let me know what you do, man. Either today, I got to wrap up the show, but yeah. And I don't think Brooks will play either, but when he does play, I can't wait. Yeah, Mixon solid in a PPR league. Breece Hall catches the ball more. That's kind of my thought process, but I wouldn't mind. It was Jose, right? Jose, let us know what you do, either today or tomorrow. But I mean, let us know before tomorrow. I mean, you gotta trade, or you got to make a move one way or another. I would not do this because you're giving away a 3 down back for a possible receiver with lots of upside, but we Malik Willis may get the start, which renders Jaden Reed not really worthy of playing. Also, I don't hate Devontae Smith at all. I just, all those three, I would put Smith last. I would never recommend giving up a 3-down back, especially somebody as talented as Stevenson. You have a tough matchup against Tennessee this week, but after watching them against Detroit, Perry, he was in the chat earlier, he said that they just fell apart. Like they just fell apart, and Stevenson could potentially have a monster game. So I would not recommend that at all. Would I include him in this trade? Absolutely not. But does Smith have trade value? Possibly. I wouldn't recommend this at all. Please don't do that. Austin agrees with me. So Aiden, don't do that. Pittman has a back injury. Downs is better. Look at the last time Flacco was the quarterback. Yeah, no. Last time Flacco was the quarterback, if I remember right, Downs had, I think it was like 9 catches, 70 yards, something like that. So trade Jamar for Gibbs and Debo. Huh. I look, Jamar Chase leads the NFL in yards, receiving yards and receiving touchdowns. I mean, I really think there's a good chance that he might be the best receiver in football. With Debo, you always have some injury issues, but you get some backfield touches. With Gibbs, you're always splitting time. God, I would love to dive into this. I have to wrap up the show in the next couple minutes. I need a lot more information if you're going to make a I need a lot more information if I'm going to make this trade. Off the top of my head, I'm assuming you have Jamar Chase, and you're probably needing a running back, and you're wanting a good value in receiver, and Debo does provide that. He's on a bye this week. Keep in mind, he's on a bye. But I need some information. I would only do this if your running back situation is bad, like really bad. Because Jamar Chase is, in my opinion, he's the so my rankings are CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, fantasy football wise. Jamar Chase might be the best receiver in football. He plays on a pass happy team with a great quarterback. If you really need a running back, then make the move. Debo's on a bye. Keep in mind, because you're going to lose some points, and you have to wait. You have to wait till next week in order to play Debo. Now the plus is that Debo gets some health. He gets a little healthier, and you have some massive upside. Plus, you also get Gibbs, who could always have a monster game, but he's always going to split touches. I need a little more information, and I got to end the show. Freezy Fantasy, I don't recognize the name. If you haven't already hit the subscribe buttons, put a comment in with your lineup, or hit me up tomorrow, or you can DM me, and I would need to know a little more about your lineup, but off the top of my head, I wouldn't do it. If you have the possibility for, if you can figure a way to trade Devon, even my Tyreek Hill's real up and down, but if somebody's willing to trade Tyreek Hill, what can you get? But I do like the idea of trying to trade Devontae Smith, but I wouldn't get rid of Stevenson, at least not yet. Keaton, thanks, brother. Do I think there's a chance? No, I do not. I'm gonna level with you, man. I'm gonna level with you. I got the Chiefs losing at Buffalo. If they get past Buffalo, Houston at home could be a loss. At Pittsburgh on Christmas could be a loss. At Denver, the final game of the season, the Chiefs may be playing backups, and that could be a loss. I doubt it, but no. I got them losing at Buffalo, unfortunately. Everybody wants to see the Chiefs go undefeated. This week, I think Kelsey may have more production than Otten, but Kelsey turned 35 this year. Otten's a third-year player with upside and athleticism. That's why. I mean, listen, I've been saying this for years, and Chiefs fans have been arguing with me, but you can't argue it now. Like he's really slowed down. He's not the same guy. There's a reason why the Chiefs picked up Juju Smith-Schuster, traded up to draft Xavier Worthy, signed Hollywood Brown, traded for DeAndre Hopkins, drafted another tight end in this year's draft. He's 35. I mean, you know, Otten's a third-year player with more athleticism and upside, and now he's the number one target. So that's why I would, but this week, I wouldn't be surprised if Kelsey outplays Otten. Devontae Adams. Okay, Javon Bennett, I don't recognize you. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Should I start Devontae or Tank in a standard league? I'm not sure. Oh, boy, that's a tough one. In a standard league, I would lead towards Devontae, and the reason why I would lead toward Devontae is I do think he's more likely to score. If it was a PPR league, I think I would go with Tank Dell. Look, a smaller slot receiver is more likely to get receptions and yards. A bigger receiver like Devontae Adams is much more likely to get touchdowns. So in a standard league that's not a PPR league, touchdowns usually, not all leagues. I've seen some 4, I've seen some with 6. There's a few with 7. More than likely yours says 6. Out of the 2, Devontae Adams is much more likely to score a touchdown. Devontae's, yeah. It's a redraft, not dynasty. In a redraft. Okay, yeah, I would. Just you're going with upside, and you're also going, for the rest of the year. But yeah, and listen. This week, I think Kelsey's going to be more productive. For the rest of the year, it's going to be Otten. 7 Leaves Design. What's up? Hey, brother. Oh, God. Listen, I got to wrap up this show. I'm gonna do my best to answer. I'm going to have to rapid fire this, but you may have to tune in for tomorrow. Would I trade Terry McLaurin for Tracy and the Bills D? Okay. Tracy has a concussion. You are aware of that. Bills D solid. All right. You also have the Saints defense, which you may want to go with, because keep in mind the Bills, they are going to play Kansas City. I do predict that they'll beat Kansas City, but you also have some really tough offenses coming in. Miami, Colts, Kansas City, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Detroit. Now the last 3 weeks of the season, New England, New York, and New England. I have no idea when your playoffs start. If your playoffs start week 16, this is smart. If your playoffs start, they have by the way, Bills have bye week 12, something to consider. But if your playoffs start week 14, you're at LA, at Detroit. Those are not good matchups, man. PPR league, I like a running back more than I like a solid receiver. You have Puka, Neighbors, Waddles, McConkey, Pearsall, your other receivers. So Puka and Neighbors would probably be my number one. Puka keeps playing like a number one guy. Neighbors is healthy. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of this because you have some legitimate questions with Puka and Neighbors. McLaurin's solid, man. Waddle, McConkey, and Pearsall would be some other good options. When do your playoffs start? Because if your playoffs start week 16, where you play New England, New York, New England, that's good. More than likely, your playoffs may start week 14 at LA and Detroit. That's not good. You may be able to get some better defenses. Saints defense. I really like the Saints defense, man. I really do. They got some really good players. Keep in mind, Carolina, Atlanta, Cleveland. You have a bye week 12. Week 13, home against the Rams, tough. At New York, Washington. Ooh, there's some tough matchups there. Green Bay. The Raiders would be a good one. And at Tampa Bay, you have no idea. All right. A 3-down back for a number one receiver. I listen, man, I am so sorry. I got to wrap up. I need a little more information on your running backs. Can you do me a favor? Can you hit me tomorrow? But off the top of my head, I don't like it because you have an injury with Tracy. I want to keep Terry McLaurin when I have Puka and Neighbors. Now, keep in mind, I'm probably starting Puka and Neighbors over McLaurin. By the way, McLaurin might be a better start over Neighbors. I don't know, but I really want to keep those guys. 7 leaves. Listen, I apologize. I need a little more information on your running backs before I really sign off on this. Can you hit me up tomorrow because I got to end the show. Guys, remember, no show next week, but you can reach out to me. I hope to see you all back tomorrow for Fantasy Football Thursday.